Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation. I am Polydub. And joining me, as always, Inquisitor 8.1. Quiz, how are you today?
I'm all right. Just a little bit late, but what else is new, right?
Yeah, what else is new? Our audience has come to love us for it. At least I like to think so. And of course, rounding out our triumvirate of awesome is Jack from Bad Comic Reviews. Jack, how the fuck are you?
I'm having a terrible week. Otherwise, not bad. How about you guys?
So it's about to get better as of tonight, starting right
Awesome.
now. Yeah,
Right
cool.
now.
And as everybody can see, we have two, not one, but two special guests that I'm happy to have on. ChaosEve. She's been on before, and we're so happy to have her again. How are you, Eve?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing really well now that you're here.
Oh,
Oh God, get a room.
After the stream.
Come on, Polly. Let's leave. Stream's over, guys. I break a home.
And finally, but definitely not least, Dax Orion. It's been a long time coming. We wanted him on. We finally got him on. Dax, how the hell are you?
I don't think we've ever streamed before.
No, we have streamed
Never.
before, just never on my channel.
No, I don't know who you are. Why am I here?
Is it Dax Orion or is it Dax Oren?
Orion.
Okay. Because I've heard
I
most
like
say
it.
Orion or Oren. I don't
You
know.
should probably learn how to spell Orion then, because
I'm not doing the constellation. This is based off like Celtic spelling.
Quiz, what is it with you in the pronunciation thing?
You got to put the right emphasis on the right syllable, Polly.
It's just a weird fixation. I find it strange. And doing a roll call from the top, who do we have here and waiting already? Ginger Power and Zombie Teddy's here. Hey, great. Mike Parletto, and we got 12 people watching, so go ahead and hit that like button right off the beginning. We would.
Hey,
totally
Mike. How you
appreciate
doing,
it.
man?
So, where does everybody want to start? We got a lot of stories. I didn't think we were going to have any, but we ended up having a whole bunch.
Let's start 7/8 through.
7/8 through, all the way through to the beginning of the end.
Yeah, why not?
Beginning of the end.
Beginning of the last eighth of the end. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you want to start off with the... Oh, I know where I want to start, actually. I don't know if everybody saw it on Twitter. Probably not, because I have very few followers. By the way, follow me on Twitter. And Dax and ChaosEve's Twitter handles are both beneath the video, so you can go ahead and follow them, and you should, because they say hilarious things and send out awesome tweets, so that's cool. Here is tonight's thumbnail. And it has a sexy librarian on it, which...
oh my.
The hotness.
Quiz seems to think that this is Barbara Gordon, and I'm not going to argue. I can buy that.
It sort of looks like her.
Maybe.
I'd agree.
I say we just go with it's Barbara Gordon.
Nah, she's
the
got
only-
some kind of spell book in her hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only that's the only X factor right there. Is what is that book?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a,
If
is
it
it
were
a
Barbara,
spell?
wouldn't it have a bullet in the spine right now?
No,
Ooh.
unfortunately
anymore.
not.
Jesus.
They brought her back. They healed her spine. I don't know how. I don't know why.
Sorcery.
Lazarus Pit.
Dude, seriously, like the Batgirls they got to replace her were so much more interesting.
Oh.
But I mean, she played like Oracle,
comic.
like was kind of an interesting take, and you know, it kind of destroys a really cool story arc.
Well, yeah, it does because like they had her as Oracle, being like the logistics center for the Birds of Prey, which was great. That was a great dynamic, and they replaced her with more interesting characters as Batgirl. Cassandra Cain is fucking brilliant, and they now made Cassandra Cain orphan and brought back Batgirl.
Orphan's a dumb name.
I think
It
it's a lost opportunity with Oracle because, like, you know, after Nightfall, Batman gets his back broke. It wasn't like, you know, somebody snapped their fingers and his spine was fine. He had to get back to being Batman. If you want to make Oracle, you know, Batwoman again, Batgirl again, why not have her go through this as opposed to simply like rebooting her and there you go.
Yeah.
It's a lost storytelling opportunity. That's when editorial mandates suck.
Wait,
by the way,
storytelling. Hold on. Do they still do that in comics?
on
Yeah,
occasion.
some of them are okay.
Yeah. So the reason why I put a sexy librarian lady on the thumbnail tonight is because I was having a discussion with somebody, and the point had come up in chat before, and people have talked about it with me on Twitter that, oh, I'd like to buy comics, and unfortunately they're kind of expensive. I'm not going to lie, $4 to $5 cover prices, insane. One of the reasons Alterna Comics on newsprint is so awesome at $1.50. I mean, how can you go wrong? A great reason to check out Alterna Comics because they're cheap. However, if you don't want to go that route, you don't want to go to, let's say, extra legal sources online to get digital comics. A great resource for getting comics, believe it or not, is actually libraries. Be they university libraries or public libraries, believe it or not, they got a really wide supply of graphic novels, collected editions, and stuff like that. And they're all there for free, and your taxes pay for them. So go take advantage. And with any luck, there'll be a sexy librarian like this to ask about the comic books. Have any of you guys ever signed a comic book out of a library ever?
Nope.
No.
If the librarian looked like that, there's no way you'd catch me dead checking out a comic book.
I have. That's how I discovered the complete illustrated Sherlock Holmes, the entire Holmes canon, as an illustrated series of graphic novels. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. And I saw it sitting there on a display shelf, and I was like, fuck yeah, I took it out of my university library. It was great.
That's cool.
So, I mean, that is an option. If $5 for a shitty 22-page comic that's full of like social justice head battering, yeah, don't go there. Go to your library.
Is that MJ?
That's
That isn't
assuming
MJ.
that I would actually read one of those books, and then that's also assuming that I would pay for one of those books, even in a roundabout way.
Yeah. Cryptic, yeah, that's MJ. I don't know. Why would MJ have like a tome of magic? I mean, it certainly looks like one with the latch lock on it and everything. I'm not really sure who that's supposed to be.
Maybe
I got to look
talk to
further
Dr.
into
Strange.
it. But what's that?
Maybe she talked to Doctor Strange and wanted to help Peter out.
Okay.
Maybe it's the Darkhold.
Cassandra Cain
Yeah.
What?
What?
is best Batgirl.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I talked about her earlier.
I'm just trying to see. I don't know. All you wrote was Cassandra Cain, quadruple exclamation mark. And I was like, what happened?
Ginger Power said Stephanie Brown is the best Batgirl. Fight me.
Mm.
I said Cassandra Cain.
I'd take Stephanie Brown over Cassandra Cain.
No way, man. Cassandra Cain has that whole like mysterious sort of Amazonian vibe to her.
She's girl Snake Eyes. Give me a break.
She's awesome. What's wrong with Girl
Whatever.
Snake Eyes?
Just another knockoff.
Well, there's nothing new under the sun, Jack. Everyone knows that.
No, but that doesn't mean you have to, do tired knockoffs. I'm just a bitter old man. What do I know?
What tired knockoff? What other like Snake Eyes ripoff is there then?
There's two of them right now in G.I. Joe. There's Throwdown, who doubles as Snake Eyes, and then there's Girl Snake Eyes.
Well,
What's Girl Snake Eyes called?
Girl, she's just called Snake Eyes because they killed the original one, and she has all his.
Why would they do that? Why would they kill off Snake Eyes? Snake Eyes is like one of the most proven characters in the G.I. Joe canon.
Well, it's weird the way IDW did this because in the main G.I. Joe Real American Hero books, everybody's aging. So, like, because they take up after the Marvel series ended, so they're allowing for actual time progression. So Snake Eyes was like in his 60s and he got killed.
That seems so weird that they would do that.
It seems stupid.
Well, G.I. Joe is predicated on the fact that they're, they need turnover for new characters. So I can see, if anything, they would want to do that. But by the same token, they have tried and true and easily identifiable characters that were they to not be in a G.I. Joe comic, I think you'd lose the plot fairly quickly.
That's what my thinking was. Plus, there's such a diverse array of characters that already existed. They could just focus on different groups of them doing different missions. Like a 5-issue arc with Junkyard and Mutt and some of the other guys, Alpine, Stalker, whatever, and then just switch teams for story arcs. But
yeah,
what do I know?
Well, that worked in the 80s, right?
It worked really well in the 80s. And Special
was-
Missions was a great comic if you never read it.
In the 80s, G.I. Joe, that was under Marvel too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Cynical Lindsay actually brings up a good question. So, are more comic book pros leaving the industry in droves? There's a channel that I follow that was covering it in a live stream. That is a point of discussion where people are like, look at these various pros that are leaving. I am not certain. It's not my original assertion, but I find it highly believable. Most people, the vast majority of them, are not on salary. They're all contracted for their work. Even Ethan Van Sciver, as long as he was working on Green Lantern, was still a contract agent, not an officially hired person, right? Gets them out of having to do certain things. As the sales fall, their ability to pay out contracts falls. And so they're leaving because they see indie comics as a possibility of going forth. I see that as the more likely cause. The demands or the requests for funds on contracts that pros can request has gone down and down and down. And it is amazing the amount of work you have to put in to draw a comic compared to what you're getting paid for it. You know what I mean? That is what I think more than anything is responsible for it. It's not an accident that the art is getting worse and worse, being penned by people that know less and less. I look at comics and I'm like, who is this person? And I'll look them up online to see their body of work, and it's all weird indie stuff. And you look up other things that they did, and it's like, and you're drawing like a major Marvel title. I mean, Jack, I'm curious what your opinion. Why would Marvel lower the overall quality of 75% of their comic books by low value contracts to less qualified artists rather than simply cut some of their 58 titles they're currently publishing?
Because they're making money on flooding the market. They don't understand. The people that are running it don't seem to understand the Jim Shooter method, which was like, all right, that's not selling, cancel it, and we'll focus on something else. Now they're just sort of like throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. I really don't think they have very good business sense.
Well, the only thing that seems to stick for them are number ones of extremely short-lived series.
Which was what we're seeing. Pretty much everything's a limited series anymore.
Yeah.
And
except for DC. DC's been, they keep things on a regular sort of cycle.
Yeah.
So long as it sells.
Marvel's doing a lot of what they did in the 90s, and it's sort of like a panic thing. You could kind of see the foil covers, the lenticulars. That goes back to the foil embossed covers they did in the 90s, launching a whole bunch of weird new series. I half expect them to resurrect the Clive Barker line just because they're that desperate at this point.
Yeah. But
they're not paying attention to the story quality or the art quality like they used to. And they again did that in the 90s. Look at a lot of the main titles like Avengers. After all the Image guys took off from Marvel, they were getting all these third stringers that were imitating like Willis Portacio's work and McFarlane's, and they were terrible. By today's standards, they're pretty highbrow, but
yeah,
all these imitators were brought in and they put a fancy cover on, jack up the cover price by $2. Now they're doing it with variant covers instead. It's really sad gimmicks.
Well,
all I gotta say is I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that what they were doing in the 90s, because in the 90s it still was okay. They were losing money because they were trying to put out too many books.
Well, they were buying up companies too. They bought Skybox, and I think they bought Upper Deck around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they tanked Upper Deck. I do remember that.
Yeah, they tanked Skybox too. But they were flooding everything. That they had so much cash on hand at first that they were just throwing it out. They ended up selling the movie rights to all the main characters to different people, and that's a problem that's biting them in the ass now.
Yeah, still
So-
biting them in the ass now.
Yeah, especially Spider-Man being out in Sony's hands. That's really, but they needed that money so desperately to avoid bankruptcy. But even then, they were doing better financially than they are now as far as sales goes.
A friend of mine who's getting ready to launch his Indiegogo for his book, for his own comic book. His call on it is, it takes more time than Marvel is willing to deal with. That's his guess. Like if you, let's say you put high quality artists on a smaller, so they got 58 titles. Let's say they cull a dozen of them out of there to save those expenses and put that money towards more lucrative contracts for better artists and better writers. It will take 6 months, 8 months, even a year for the sales of those series to pick up because of the increased quality, for word to get out. You know what I mean? For people who bought it to say, holy shit, man, have you seen the new artist they brought on, the new writer they brought on? Plus, it will take a while for those comics to even hit comic book stores to begin with, because you're going to write it and then it's going to take months and months before it's actually put out. So that's what's keeping them from doing it, is this sort of like downward spiral. Because if we have 58 series being published right now, that's money coming in, period. If we invest, we're going to have to wait X amount of months to see any kind of return on that. And they're really so tight right now that they can't, they don't have the ability to do that long range thinking. Well, and I'm like, that's an interesting point, I guess.
They've got to keep fudging these numbers to keep Disney execs happy. So that's why you're seeing all these variant covers all the time now, because that's what they're banking on, getting people to buy more of these like $7-8 issues. They're bloating the market again, which is what the problem was previously. You know, they're inflating these numbers under false pretenses. Eventually that runs out. The speculator crash in the 90s was a great example of what's coming to Marvel and DC at this point.
On a smaller scale, because they were never, nobody's pushing it right now like it was going on when the speculator boom bubble popped. Like that was just some spectacular level shit that it was at. I don't think it'll reach that level of crash because of the smaller scale of it.
I would disagree. It's a smaller scale, but it's higher stakes now.
You think so?
They're selling so few issues that if it crashes now, it could cripple them to the point where they're losing so much money that Disney just pulls the plug.
Well, actually, right. As Cynical Lindsay said a little bit ago, it's because Marvel's keeping them afloat. But when Jim Healis, who's in chat, hey Jim, how's it going? Had pointed out previously, it'll never crash because Disney, the owner of Marvel, will step in before that happens and do restructuring, financial restructuring, all the different possibilities we talked about. They'll never go boom before the people at Marvel step in and go enough.
But it's a matter of these guys want to keep their jobs.
Right.
And if they start bleeding and hemorrhaging money, they'll clean house.
Yeah.
Or they'll just shut it down and IP farm it out to like IDW. Their first Marvel book came out today. That Spider-Man Marvel Action, I think is the title, Marvel Action Spider-Man. And it's got Miles Morales and Peter Parker, but it says Marvel, but it also says IDW on it. And they're going to have 4 titles. So
speaking of which, Inquisitor just mentioned that Blue Mamba is great, and Jim said thanks. And I finally went and picked up my copy a week ago of Blue Mamba from my friend.
We can finally talk about it then, because I read it and I liked
it. I finally went and picked up my own copy about a week ago that I had ordered. Happy to have it. Sexy as hell. And
it's so good.
Jim, by all means, if you have, I remember you said you overprinted and you have copies for sale, and if that's still the case, by all means, put the link in chat and I will add it to the description, because yeah, it's absolutely worth reading, guys. Well written, incredibly well drawn, sexy action comic, intrigue, espionage, pretty cool.
I love espionage, and it seems well done. So,
it's the thing. I mean, I know it sounds like we're just like blowing rainbows and gumdrops at Jim, but it not even, because if it sucked, Jim, I'd love you, but I'd say it sucks. But
I
it
told
doesn't.
him when I was going to read it. I had said it was going to be completely honest, and he said that's why I want it. So it's true. I enjoyed the comic quite a bit, and I can't wait to see more.
There it is.
Like if there's any criticisms that I can give to Blue Mamba, I love the story. The story is excellent. I asked Jim a couple of questions when he was on when we were talking about Blue Mamba, namely that it was a little bit unclear about what organization Clarissa actually worked for. There was a couple of panels that were a little rough for the art, but overall it did not detract from the book, and it's a very much a positive response from me. So that's the only downsides that I could possibly think of to criticize Blue Mamba for. Other than that, no, absolutely every single person listening should get a copy of Blue Mamba.
It's easy to promote something when you actually like promote it, like speak positively of something when you actually legitimately like it. Like it's not just an indie book for the sake of an indie book. It's not very gimmicky.
No, it felt very professional.
Yeah, it's a solid book, definitely worth reading. And so yeah, Jim, like part two. Where's issue 2? That's what.
Yes, please.
That's what everybody's wondering. Yeah, the only kind of criticisms I can come up with for it are panel criticisms. Like in this panel, I'm not really sure about, like, nitpicky, in other words. You know what I mean? And that's a pretty positive thing when you have to start nitpicking. The thing that I did want to talk about really quick as we're moving on. Oh, one thing before we move on to that. Just recently, I don't know how many people here watch Ranting Monkey. A lot of us met each other here that are on stream right now through Ranting Monkey. And when Dax and myself were on the Monkey in the Morning stream the other day, that's when my channel, the Comic Book Curation channel, finally broke 300 subs, and I was so happy. Yeah, because the people show up and listen to our little stream. I can't tell you how exciting it is. It's great to have you guys here. And Jim was on when we've got 28 people watching right now. Jim showed up when there was like 5 people watching, and that's one of the reasons he's cool. So we hope to do more, and we are going to do a 300 subscriber special. It's not going to be on our regularly scheduled time because I'm trying to get some interesting guests. We're going to see how that's going to work out. But yeah, look forward to that. But for everybody who subbed, thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. We love having you come here. I wanted to talk about... Oh, hold on. Let me share this because you guys should see it. We busted balls on this last week when Bill motherfucking Maher decided to open his mouth.
Grr.
Yeah, I already don't like Bill Maher very much for a whole bunch of different reasons, but then this guy like starts talking about like comic books and stuff, and like this is a CBR article. Bill Maher doubles down on Stan Lee comic book culture comments. I haven't read this yet, so let's find out.
I read the first couple of sentences, and it made me mad.
Okay, so you're gonna.
I'm just gonna let you take it and go. Go ahead.
So, like I said, I haven't read this at all. I just read the headline. Eve sent me the link, and okay, here we go. Bill Maher was on Larry King Now recently and elaborated on the controversial blog post he uploaded regarding comic book culture and former Marvel editor and publisher Stan Lee, who passed away last Monday. The comedian and political commentator. Okay, hack, used up, wasted comedian and political comment.
You have to be funny to be considered a comedian.
That's right.
90s wasn't so bad, even early thousands, but that the turnabout. So
his comedy now consists of haha, Trump is dumb. Everybody laugh with me.
Yeah. Orange man bad, haha.
When you need an applause sign to tell the audience when to applaud and laugh, you know you've reached a bad point in your career. I will give you credit, Dax, the credit for what you're saying, that like, yeah, I've seen the guy in a couple of films where he's naturally funny. Like he's got comedic timing. He knows how to deliver a punchline. Yeah, fair enough. But what he's doing now is Orange Man bad, please laugh.
I couldn't possibly like even relate the two. If I could only tell by just material versus early stuff, I wouldn't even know it's the same guy.
Yeah. And as for political commentary, listen, the guy, I don't think that you have to have a formal education to understand politics, but you should at least have an understanding that stretches outside your own ideology. This guy doesn't even qualify as a pundit. He's just trash. Anyway, the air quote comedian and air quote political commentator said that he just found out about the negative backlash his comics have had received from professional creators and fans, and that such reactions have only cemented his point. let me say this straight. Bill Maher, a man who's infamous for being a condescending, self-righteous prick, feels cemented by backlash. Okay. He
People don't
acknowledges
like when you call them names, and that makes you more mean. I don't get it. Makes you call them more names.
When you're an arrogant prick, arrogance knows no bounds and nothing slows it down. He acknowledges that his comments weren't a swipe against Stan Lee. Yeah, they clearly were. You said the blog post said specifically what? Today we're going to recognize the contributions of a man who made us go see a movie. Like, I could punch you right in the nuts, Bill Maher. That's all you have to say for.
He doesn't have any. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, like, dude, this guy gave more to the creative work and to public creativity and shared imagination than you ever will in your hack career, fucker.
Seriously, the number of people that Stan Lee's work has inspired worldwide is in the millions. I mean,
yeah, and you got your salty little comedy show. Like, yay. Anyway, he acknowledges that his comments weren't despite Stan Lee, calling himself agnostic about the former Marvel icon, but that his comments were more a comment about current comic book culture and its popularity today. Quote, a culture that thinks comic books and comic book movies are profound meditations on the human condition is a dumb fucking culture. And quote.
That's where I got upset.
If anybody, the profundity of them is not really what's at issue here. Let me just read on. Okay. His online post titled Adulting reads, quote, I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could have only gotten elected in a country that thinks comic books are important, end quote. Fuck off.
What does Donald Trump have to do with this?
Nothing. It's just, I will shoehorn and wedge Orange Man into every fucking thing I can. He connected, if you read the original blog post, people think that comic books are great. They're now a bunch of man children. They can't do their own laundry. They call paying your bills adulting, and then Donald Trump got elected. He actually connects A to B to C to D. Like, and this is a man who gets called a political commentator. Fuck. Come on.
Okay, first of all, I know how to do laundry. I'm very good.
Yes. There's video evidence.
There's a significant portion of video evidence. Number two, he's a moron. So, I don't know. Look at Bill Maher. He looks smelly.
Okay.
He has greasy old man hair.
I think that the major thing that we need to take away from this, right, is that he feels that he has the conviction to judge comic book culture around a misplaced idea to make Orange Man bad. Okay, as if to say everyone who participates in reading comic books voted for Donald Trump. Okay. Number one, that's a faux pas. That is a mischaracterization. That is a logical fallacy, Bill Maher. Number two, do you not see exactly what the comic book industry is inundated with? What ComicsGate is fighting against?
Oh, Jesus Christ. You know what? That's a great point, Quiz. I never thought about that until now. Clearly, this man isn't reading comics. If they're bashing your fucking values over people's heads, Bill. You didn't know?
Hang on. By Bill Maher standards, it's possible that he thinks that SJW comic creators are actually kind of moderate to right wing, because he's pretty far to the left, as I recall.
Yes. He calls himself a libertarian, but he's fooling himself.
Yeah, that's a lie he tells to us and himself.
Yeah. Well, Don Lemon from CNN describes himself as an independent. That he's not. No, he really does.
He's independent because no one will claim him. Because he makes these sort of retarded statements without knowing absolutely anything about reality. I mean, if you could sit there and think that comic book fans or comic book creators are somehow like justifying Orange Man bad, then you live under a fucking rock, Bill Maher.
Hey, reality is colonialist science.
All right, let's wrap this article up real quick, and then because this is the end of it. Yesterday, Stanley's company, POW Entertainment, released an open letter in response to Marr's comments. Meanwhile, fans and creators alike continue to express their frustration, disgust, and in some cases, ironic humor in regards to how the comments have united many different fandoms with the common theme of disagreement on multiple social media platforms. Could hardly be more true. I read Tess Fowler's tweet on it and I thought, yeah, Tess, give them hell. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just say?
Not only that, Brianna Wu came out against Bill Maher.
Yeah. Like, Bill, you're full of shit, man. Like, people that can't stand each other hate you. Think about that.
You have united the anti-SJWs and the SJWs, Bill Maher, in hatred of you. Think about how bad that is for you. Not even Donald Trump could do that. Let that let that one burn into your psyche, Bill.
Now he's going to have a sit down where he apologizes to some big fat schlubby nerd like he did to Ice Cube.
Oh, I would tell him to kiss my ass. Kiss it.
What I find interesting is it's like they think it's profound, and again, it's different levels of profound. Like, I find comic books to be a medium where you can tell everything from a fluff story to an erotic story to a crime thriller to something that's actually profound. Is he under the impression that all entertainment must be profound? Therefore, if you find it entertaining, you're claiming it to be exclusively profound? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with an adventure comic, Bill? I don't think that's profound. I just simply think it's entertaining and fun and interesting.
I think he's a moral Puritan. He just doesn't. If he doesn't like it, it's not okay. You know, just like the old 80s religious zealots were. He's just another one of those guys that wants to go around telling people how to live their lives. If he doesn't like it or respect it, it's awful and stupid, and you're dumb for liking it.
I think he's a pretentious cocksucker is what he is.
Yeah, I think he dramatically overreached in a point he was trying to make, which is just Donald Trump somehow got elected, and here I am 2 years later still trying to excoriate the American polity for having voted him in. And it's like, so I'm going to come up with another reason and another reason, and like comic books because Stan Lee recently died. So, okay, I'm going to write on that. This is just the newest thing. I don't think he has a particular beef against comic books. He's just still trying to explain his salty, butthurt feelings, which is...
Well, I mean, even Black Romeo in chat saying he's pretty sure he's doubling down. Bill lies. In his first post, he said he read comics as a kid, and now he's saying he's never read comics.
Well... Yeah. That reminded me of the thing that frustrated me most about his original blog post. He was like, basically, comic books are for kids, but then at some point you have to put them away and read big boy books without pictures. Yeah, Bill, I read big boy books all the time. I've had to throughout grad school, and I still read comic books. So what the fuck are you talking about?
I don't want to always have to read big boy books. Sometimes I want some escapism.
Thank you.
I mean, what's so... I just don't get that. And I'm not trying to claim that they're all profound. Where did you get that idea from? This guy. Like,
well, there's also a level of ivory towerism. You know, this sort of I'm better than you mentality by saying things like big boy books.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Bill Maher, do you know that it's a legitimate form of literature? Like, that you can actually... people are paid to write comic books. Granted, not as much as they used to be, but there's a level of... You have to compose everything from blocking to dialogue to panel structure, all of this. And that sort of format is just as much work as a big boy book, Bill.
Wait, does
in
he
fact,
carry...
even more so because you have to pay an artist or be an artist and make those drawings yourself.
Does he carry this shaming over to other areas too? Like, does he go out and laugh at archers because now we have better firearms?
Because now we have guns.
Yeah.
No,
like, you're still using a bow. You're primitive. Duh.
If it supported his argument that stupid people voted in Trump, I absolutely believe he would. That's what I mean. I think he was completely overreaching his point. I think when reading that, like, or finding out about the bad reaction it's having, he's like, really? People are having a bad reaction? Yeah, people from all over the political map are not liking that you said that. And because he's a condescending, arrogant prick, which is his shtick, or maybe the way he really is, I'm thinking the way he really is, he's just like, yeah, I meant it. When in reality, who knows if he did or not? It's just he's a condescending fucker and never won't be.
I love Grizella's comment. What if Ice Cube reads comics? Will Bill Maher have to apologize to him again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you go read Black as Fuck? See if you like that, Bill. If that's promotion enough for your
He
position.
would, just because it supports his ideology.
I love that Mike Parlett says, I read Linux tech manuals and shit. Fuck that.
Yeah, exactly my point. You know, sometimes you want to escape the stuff that you actually have to read. Like, I don't want to read War and Peace all the time because it's boring.
I read War and Peace. It is boring.
It's boring.
Yeah. That was a hard read, man, and it was not rewarding enough to have gone through it.
No, those Russians, man, they know how to really make your head hurt.
Okay, I've got a really small story here. It's not even a story. It's just a 5-second comment, but I couldn't resist it. For those of you who don't know, Bleeding Cool is a website.
Oh God!
It's run by a guy named Rich Johnston, and Rich Johnston is an asshole. Like he is the worst kind of, what would you call it? Like the guy who runs around and does everybody's bidding in the comic book industry. It's
like a brown-nosed, or he's like the lead henchman that brown-nosed his way up there.
Right. He's the chief of the garbage tier article websites. If a bunch of SJW pros say, oh, these comics gators are a bunch of alt-right Nazis, he will write up an article in support of that. If
I may, he's the Smithers of the comic industry.
Yes. He is the Smithers of the. That's great. So Rich Smithers Johnston has this website, Bleeding Cool, and we love making fun of it. It's a lot of comedic gold for us to mine, simply because of the way he's willing to operate as the mouthpiece for certain people in the comic book industry. I popped by his Wikipedia page because often people have written their own Wikipedia pages in this self-congratulatory style. Look what it says on Rich Johnson's. The first line: Richard Johnson is a British comic creator and columnist. Who is often accused of being the editor-in-chief of the comics news site Bleeding Cool.
Wow. Look at that pretentious photo, too.
I know. He's got a pipe. Isn't that great? But come on. He's often accused of being the editor-in-chief. That would be like, aren't you the guy who owns Comic Book Curation, Polly? I've been accused of it, yes. Like,
I've been accused of having Comic Book Curation.
Sorry, it just made my day. So yeah, okay. That's all I got on Rich Johnson. I mean, that has got to be some kind of very slick, brilliant defacement of this page. I didn't go into the editing and the history to see who had done that, but that's
I think we all know who did that.
It's
one of us. Go.
Nice.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how long back this guy's I want to be a journalist started. Like back on Usenet in 1994 with Rich's ramblings. Like, wow, dude.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
And lest we forget that this guy has attempted to be a comic book professional as a writer and an artist forever. And the guess that goes around a lot, and I think it's a pretty fair guess, is that, you know, if you like and if you get comic book pros to like you enough and you do enough things for them, eventually they're going to let you into their inner circle. They're going to allow you to become a professional if I blow enough rainbows at them for enough years.
Oh my God, it's how male feminists get sex.
Yeah. It's Ron Corp says, I have read technical orders, AFI, DOD policies, etc. for the military. You have to have an escape. Dude, I haven't read DOD policies, but I have read through a whole crap ton of congressional stuff related to the House Select Committee on Intelligence and everything for my graduate studies. And yeah, I feel your pain. It gets really technical, very legalese, very fast. Come on, what's wrong with reading what Silver Surfer is up to this month? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck
There's
you,
nothing
Bill
wrong
Maher.
with that. Camera coming on here in a second.
Okay.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, look away.
Lindsay was asking about Battle Royale in the chat.
Classic.
This is my copy of the novel. It's the entire thing is an actual novel, not a manga at all.
It's
They-
a big boy book.
They
It's a big boy book.
They did adapt it as a manga, though.
They
Like,
did, but it was
was
originally
terrible.
written. It was originally written as a novel, then adapted into a movie, and the movie got ridiculously popular with people like Beat Takeshi being in it and all
Yeah.
sorts of shit.
And then it got ripped off as the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Actually-
it's like the Hunger Games but grown up.
I was actually told to read the first Hunger Games book, and I felt insulted having actually read
Yeah.
Battle Royale.
It's the special needs version of Battle Royale.
Yeah.
So if you like the Hunger Games, go read Battle Royale. It's much better, and it has saucy Asians in it.
Mhm.
And the new Electric Warriors series from DC borrows very heavily from thematics of Battle Royale and Hunger Games. So if you're thinking about picking up Electric Warriors, go buy Battle Royale instead.
Okay. Well, I already have it, so.
But still watch my review on it when it comes out later in the week.
And you know, there's another thing in chat that I have to I have to bring up, Polly. Polly.
Mm.
Cryptic said the best crazy fucking comic writer of all time is still Alan Moore.
Alan Moore worships a bundle of sticks.
Take that, Frank Miller.
No. Frank Miller is the greatest comic book writer of all time. If you have to pick, well, the greatest comic book writer of all time, I have to say Chris Claremont.
Yeah, Chris Claremont. Yeah,
My
he has the
favorite
pedigree.
is
Yeah.
Frank Miller. Like you can, if you can
See,
leave
I don't
your-
see how you can differentiate the two. I mean,
well, the greatest and your favorite, of course you can make a distinction there.
Well, the reason why is because like your favorite will have an individual book that you love above all others, right?
Mhm.
But objectively speaking, the best is, can you think of a time where you have read something by a specific author that you straight up did not like? And if you can't think of one for Chris Claremont, there's probably a reason for that.
And it's the sheer body of work that Claremont put out. It's the quality level that he worked at and for how long he worked there. It's insane. And that's why he gets that spot as the greatest, in my opinion.
I say, Cryptic, if you want, I can go on camera again. There's a really damn good
he just likes
Alan
turning his
Moore.
camera on the camera whore.
Well, yeah. There's a really
like a
damn
Twitch
good.
thought.
I'm just saying,
just a
you can turn your camera on as much as you want, but I've told you before, wear the low cut shirts.
Okay, all right.
And pay your taxes.
I actually do have a. It was a run of Wildcats written by Alan Moore. So that's fairly interesting. You know, the Wildcats was an extremely short-lived, comparatively speaking, short-lived superhero book originally made by Jim Lee when he created Wildstorm Comics before it was bought up eventually by DC. And the Wildcats were the title characters for that comic series. And
Okay. Cryptic says, I said crazy, like the crazy. No one's crazier than Frank Miller. Nobody.
Yeah, that's true.
No one's willing to take weirder chances than
Wait, define crazy.
Frank Miller.
Like Batman calling 12-year-old Robin a retard. Like,
what are you, dense or retarded or something?
Yeah, and then like forcing him to live in the Batcave and eat rats, like crazy like that. Like that's
not Batman though. That's Crazy Steve. Thank you, Linkara. That's still the best meme, even though you're kind of
Linkara's kind of lost it, but that was one of his
true.
It was one of his true high points. Crazy Steve, it really was.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, we're talking about All-Star Batman and Robin that was written by Frank Miller before he stopped drinking. He stopped drinking. And,
he stopped drinking.
He did
as much.
And and drawn by the incomparable Jim Lee. It's a famously beat up on series because people don't like it. I think it's misunderstood.
Quiz.
Whatever. And Batman is so rough tempered and harsh demeanored in that story that Linkara, another comic book creator or comic book streamer online, video maker, said, this isn't Batman. We're just going to call him Crazy Steve from now on. And it was who had stolen the bat suit and knocked out Bruce Wayne and taken his identity.
It's apropos. Batman is so not Batman in All-Star Batman and Robin. And if you want a good Batman series drawn by Jim Lee, Hush.
Yeah, Hush is pretty awesome. But if you want a great new Batman story written by Frank Miller, go check out Dark Knight 3: The Master Race. It's fucking brilliant. So there you go.
Already pitched that one.
Well, I'm just saying we can refer back to things we've pitched before.
It's called a throwback.
Yeah. So moving on to other stories, and this is where we're going to get Dax involved because this ain't the monkey stream. You can't just sit there quiet, Dax.
Sit there quiet. How many times the last time I watched did Monkey have to tell you to speak up because you're being
You've
quiet?
been quiet a lot recently, Paul. That's not fair. You were going on a tangent, and I didn't know as much as you, so I stayed quiet instead of acting like a dumbass.
What, on this stream?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We are kind of the experts.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
gonna lie, we're kind of the experts.
I'm a smarter than average comic book fan that doesn't go super deep into it. You're the experts, like you said.
No. Jack shames us all. I make no bones about it.
True.
Jack's the guru. We're just
Jack
here
has
with
the
him.
least amount of social life of the group.
This is a story from the aforementioned Bleeding Cool that Rich Johnson has been accused of being the editor. Lucasfilm announces new Star Wars animated series Galaxy of Adventures. Excuse me, guys.
Ew, why?
I actually don't know what to think of this. Young Star Wars fans are going to have a new animated series to devour starting this Friday. Launching along with new Star Wars Kids YouTube channel, Galaxy of Adventures will feature characters, sound, ships, and pivotal moments from the original trilogy in short bursts as entry points into the saga for young ones. The animation style is fast and stylized. Each episode will feature educational segments as well. Really?
Oh my god, no!
Like, remember the end of G.I. Joe? And winning is half the, or knowing is half the battle. Remember that?
Oh yes, instead of little feel-goodsy memes that don't actually really mean anything, it'll be like, and remember, kids, we don't call Princess Leia he or she because she's non-binary.
No dead naming Leia. Her name's Larry now.
You guys are hilarious. I didn't even think that. I thought it was going to be like Han Solo going, remember, kids, don't take your parents' medication. It's not safe. Like that kind of thing.
Whatever. He's going to teach you how to smuggle that.
Yeah. So I never even thought about that. Yeah. So it's Princess Larry, and don't shame Chewbacca because of his furrydom. You know,
it's ableist. Stop it, you shitlord.
Yeah. And you got C-3PO back here, and he wants to be human. So he's transracial.
C-3PO is totally gay.
and yeah, he's the LGBTQ plus positive guy. Excellent.
And
We
R2-D2
all
is a
know
trash
being
can.
gay.
Oh
We
man,
all
is he
know.
gonna give Luke the gift?
and you got R2-D2 down here, and though he's differently shaped, don't body shame him. Body positivity.
Bozzy positivity?
Bozzy positivity.
Bozzy positivity.
What were you saying, Chaos?
I was saying, and we all know that being gay is so passé now. It's no longer even a part of the. They should just take the G out of LGBTQ.
You know, I've heard people talk about that, and man, that's really sad. Makes me sad a little bit on the inside.
Well, because they say, yeah, you're gay, but you're still a white male, so you benefit from white male privilege and blah blah blah. And it's just like, you can't win these people.
Yeah,
No,
wait a
they're
minute.
crazy.
They're really going to have to get Lando in there if it's all from the original trilogy. Otherwise, it's going to be like hashtag Star Wars Adventures too white, you know?
Star
Wars
Wars
Galaxy-
is so white.
Can we all agree that Galaxy of Adventures sounds like some sort of weird Disney ride that you would see at the theme park?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll give them credit for this. just looking at this here, I think Leia in this like character design, she looks great. So does Luke and Han. I can't say much for Chewbacca back here. Chewbacca sucks.
He looks
Just
like a
from that.
monkey.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a defined mouth. That's the
I'm
problem.
gonna tell
It's
Monkey you said that.
It probably does look like Frank.
He kind of looks like a Sasquatch or something. I don't know what they were going for.
Yeah, and that's weird because Luke and Leia all look great in this style. I think they look pretty cool.
I don't like the art style. I think it looks stupid.
Well, it's obviously a simplified art style, but like within
it's more that
here's the full poster.
Steven Universe crap.
This isn't as far
They
gone
don't
as
have
Steven
noodle
Universe.
It's that level of lazy to me. Look at Luke. I don't know what's wrong with his face. Is he 5? Why is his face so round?
Yeah, though they're really trying to make him look young. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
They could have given him a little bit more of a jaw, like our man Han over here.
They're doing it. I venture a guess they're doing it just like they're doing for the Warhammer 40K thing. The Warhammer Adventures. They're doing it by taking something that is very much more geared towards adults, like late teens, early adults. That's the target demographic, and making a kid-safe version of it.
Thoughts,
Oh,
Dax?
I don't like it, and it makes me very sad considering that I've been a Star Wars fan since I could talk.
I think it's neither here nor there because we're obviously not the target demographic. I think where we actually have room to complain is if those wacky predictions and jokes we made turn out to be true.
My trepidation is very, very on point. I don't know how well it's going to be with that the G.I. Joe moment, so I'm going to give it a shot because if it's going to be on YouTube, I'll give it a shot. But
Let me ask you a question. Do you think the repetition of 4 kids that they're saying in the advertisement is possibly to stave off some of the criticism? Because you got like She-Ra, right? And people are all over the character redesign, right? And you got Thundercats Roar, and people are all over it. And the response is, I love how there's a bunch of adults coming out criticizing a show that was meant for kids. Do you think it's possible that they're repeating 4 kids so much to stave off that problem?
Yes.
I would say in the difference between Star Wars and She-Ra is that Star Wars has been an ongoing franchise. They've been constantly adding to the Star Wars legacy over the years,
right?
Adding to the franchise, releasing things so that all generations of kids have experienced Star Wars in one form or another. So it's not completely unfeasible to make a new kids show for Star Wars because kids know what Star Wars is. The problem with She-Ra is that they brought back a show from the 80s that no one had heard or seen from in years, and then they decide that they're going to bring it back and completely redo it in the way they thought it needed to be done. And that's what everybody's problem was, is who are you targeting with this? The people who liked the original are not going to be watching this. And kids didn't need a She-Ra character because they don't know who She-Ra is.
Well, not only that, is that all of the predictions about She-Ra turned out to be right.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about it.
Have you guys watched it yet? Because it's pretty awful.
No,
I haven't.
It's enough that I've heard everyone saying that all of the predictions and people were sitting there saying like, you're just fucking hating. Oh really? Well, all the people that sat there and said that you're gonna make characters gay arbitrarily in a kid show, and I'm kind of not okay with them just kind of shoehorning in sexuality in something that doesn't really need to have sexuality, is lauded as a triumph for gay representation. You kind of just proved them right. So yeah,
there's articles all over the place about how queer the characters are and how amazing it is and great it is, and it's just like,
well, let's see what the rest of this article says about it, so we can glean a little more.
Well, one thing though, they said it's a clip show basically, right? Like they'll take moments.
That little bursts.
Can help. I can see that being actually a good way to get the kids into it. I mean, again, I understood it just fine as I needed to as a child, but if they make it engaging, it could be okay.
Is Lando gonna smack up his woman when he can't find his Colt 45?
With Galaxies of
Where's my
Adventures,
super
we
suit?
wanted to craft something that allowed parents to help their kids take the first step into a much larger world. When they were ready to show their kids the films or wanted to find new ways to explore the content, James Waugh, Lucasfilm's vice president for franchise content and strategy, tells StarWars.com. The first shorts will feature story content from the original trilogy, with more shorts debuting in December featuring other characters from the saga. We'll release a schedule through 2019, leading up to Star Wars Episode 9 next December. This is a centerpiece of the launch of the new site, StarWarsKids.com, which will be a hub for younger fans of Star Wars, along with family-focused content set in the galaxy. Basically, Lucasfilm sees an issue with older fans wanting to introduce their kids to Star Wars, but they may feel they are not ready for the films yet. I myself have a 6-year-old, and while she has been watching the films and animated series since she was a baby, not everyone wants their kids to deal with some of the themes and visuals contained in the film that early. Kudos to them for seeing the problem and working to help to bridge kids to the more adult parts of the Star Wars lore. Like what? So what? Luke gets his fucking hand cut
Right,
off.
that's what I was thinking. There's nothing super violent or super.
Well, there's that,
heavy.
and then his aunt and uncle get burned alive,
Yeah,
when
but
they
you don't have to
when they
explain that.
gut the tauntaun on Hoth and stick
Right,
Luke
that was
inside
a
of its
little-
dead carcass.
I was
Yeah,
a little.
they don't know that's a dead animal. You don't have to explain that. As a kid, I didn't have a clue that was Owen and Beru's skeleton or that the tauntaun was dead. I thought it was just sleeping.
What I find interesting is the some of the language here. I don't know.
That's true. I didn't actually know the Tauntaun died when I was a kid, and it wasn't until much later I realized it.
I honestly thought it was like fucking tater tots. You
just thought it was tired and fell over. It hadn't died from the cold.
Yeah, it would be fine.
No,
it just
I
needed to sleep.
didn't know.
It'll be fine. You just, spilling out its intestines. It'll be fine.
The intestines don't look like that though. So as a kid, I honestly thought it looked like tater tots. I'm telling you.
My cynical mind here, having seen them Disney do the things that they've done with Star Wars, is jumping into action here with more shorts debuting in December featuring other characters from the saga. Are they going to like start introducing like young Poe Dameron and stuff like that? Is this a way to bridge the original trilogy through to the Disney trash?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
It's possible. I mean, if it's done well, they could work in like Rogue One, stuff like that. But as long as they don't work in The Last Jedi, I don't really care.
Remember when what's his name said we're going to put a President Disney said we're going to put a halt on this thing after Solo crashed and burned. It's like, yeah, we're doing too many things, too much content, and it's like, notice all the languages. This is a centerpiece for a launch, and we're going to ease, and we're going to.
Yeah.
Disney is calming the fuck down, basically.
Which they should have done to begin with. I don't know why they went gun blazing. I mean, that's so stupid.
They got a new toy, and they were excited about it.
Here's
Yeah,
the
it's like,
thing.
we own Star Wars, motherfuckers. Let's sell it everywhere. Like, that's what I got off of it.
It was a license to print money.
I was noticing
You know-
in the chat that people were talking about She-Ra and the Rotten Tomato score. Bad news, folks. Everyone was saying that the audience score was at 0%. Rotten Tomatoes is 100% fresh for critics. They love the show. It's got a perfect score.
Yeah,
Nothing
right.
like, I mean, that's so
Audience score is
incredibly-
at 72%.
The
Nothing-
72 is misleading because there's a lot of groups going around pumping the numbers up because it was originally so low.
right.
So they have a bunch of drives to go out and get people to sign up and pump up the numbers.
Man, people pimp out Rotten Tomatoes in some really underhanded ways to,
That's why I don't trust it.
I
yeah.
don't look at it at all.
Yeah, I don't
That's
trust
that's
anything.
wild. Like 100% from critics. That's suspicious as fuck. Like,
You want to know
that's
how I judge movies and stuff? Watch. This is how easy it is. Polly, what do you think of Titans?
I'm not a big fan. It's all right.
Then
I
I'm probably
guess.
not going to watch it because I trust you. There you go. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need Rotten Tomatoes to tell you. Just you know what you like. You know what your friends like. You know that you like what your friends like. That's all you need to worry about.
For me, I think we get caught up in the scores that things get rather than paying attention to the details of
Yeah.
why things were rated the way they were, what the problems that critics had with them.
Yeah, it's because it's easy to say. I hear you. I think you're right. We get caught up in numbers for the obvious reason. A number seems solid. It seems like it's a metric. It's come from somewhere. You can sink your teeth
Right.
into it. You know, and it's like
fact, and you're like, okay, well, they gave it this number, so this must be hard cold fact. But yeah,
I think the major thing about that too is the fact that it is the audience feedback. It is people that have taken the time to put in feedback. Now they could be bombing it for ideological reasons without ever actually seeing an episode of the show. I've not seen an episode of the show. That's the reason why I wouldn't put a fucking rating on it. Because
but you know how they game that system, right? They do sneak previews to certain fans that are people that love everything, pop culture whores online, and then just we'll give you a sneak preview, and they don't tell them you have to give us a high score. They only select people that give every fucking thing a high score. You know what I mean? I mean, how many people reviewed Fallout 76 and said it's a fucking great game? That it's got like 8 and 9 out of 10, even though the game's fucking bombing. How the hell did that happen? Gee, I wonder. The Rich Johnstons of the gaming world. You know?
I used to know a guy that did movie and video game reviews, and I got to see a ton of free movies with him. But he would give everything high numbers, so he would keep getting free stuff. So every video game he reviewed got great scores, no matter how bad the game sucked. Because not only was he terrible at video games, but he wanted the free things from Microsoft and all those guys. So he would get tons of packages full of free games because he always gave them excellent reviews.
Yep.
So before we move on to the topic of the title, I just want to remind everybody, if you are so inclined, please feel free to like this video and share it with anybody that you might think it's interesting. We would appreciate it. Thank you. We titled this one that Mark Ruffalo loses his sack. Because, and yeah, I know, the title last week was about Mark Ruffalo as well. And for those who don't know, he got fired.
Hey, chat, make sure you tell Polly that he's the only one who cares about the fact that he's used Mark Ruffalo in the title twice in a row, because we tried to tell him.
And every other one of us supported it.
Well, you guys did, and I didn't want to use it twice, and they said before we went live, stop worrying about it, Polly, because I overthink these things. But
he does.
I am just so excited that Mark Ruffalo got fired. Like, I just, I can't help it.
Still fired. That's the best part.
Yeah, and then he's still fired, thinking that somehow he was going to get back on. That's what I love. And my favorite part is Jack is the one who told me. It was like 2 weeks ago. He's like, "Did you guys hear Mark Ruffalo got fired?" I was like, "What? Whoa, shut up! Don't play with my emotions now. You're not lying, are you?" Because I really don't like him as Bruce Banner at all. And IRL, Mark Ruffalo is such a what's the word here, guys?
Sheebag, yeah.
A douche, yeah. He's a
I said he was a douche, and you said he was what, Dax? Because he said douche wasn't good enough?
No, he's a cocksucker.
He's a cocksucker. His douche was too good for him.
Yeah, being a douche is too good for him.
Like, you could complain and point out so many things about Mark Ruffalo playing Bruce Banner. Like, one, that he's a douche IRL, and that he gets hired onto this job and all of a sudden starts broadcasting his political opinions to the fucking world. Like, anyone cares what you think, actor man. And he plays the role so badly. Jack correctly pointed out he's largely the reason that Thor Ragnarok sucks. He ruined that film.
He did.
By being in it so much. And one of the
by being in it at all. If it had just been the Hulk, it could have been a fun movie. But every time he was on screen, I wanted to go demand my refund and then burn the theater down. I don't know. I was so enraged because he just brought down every scene.
And I would have done that. I'd have gone and said, "Look, I was told that the Hulk would be in this movie, not Mark Ruffalo."
He is one of the few complaints I have about Avengers Infinity War. I love that film. I think it's great. I think they pulled off something pretty successful. It's not my favorite MCU film, but it's a great film.
No.
And one of the few complaints I have is Ruffalo's in it.
See, I knew a kid in college, a little flashback story for you. We called him a fun sponge because there's a little demon that lives inside of him that thrives off misery. So every time he'd walk in the room, he'd be like, "Hey guys," and you'd be like, "Yeah, oh, hey Jason." And Mark Ruffalo has that same effect. He has one of those demons living inside of him, likes to bring everything down. So as soon as he appears on screen, all the chemistry just is drained out of it, and you're like, "Ugh." And he hurts the pacing by being in the movie. So Mark Ruffalo is a fun sponge, is what I'm getting at.
Well,
especially
Isn't there already a term for that? Wet blanket?
yeah. Wet
No,
blanket.
it goes beyond that because wet blanket's like, okay, maybe we can work around this. A fun sponge is literally a supernatural entity that has powers we cannot understand and can affect you through the cinematography.
You know what? Cynical Lindsay says, just watch Captain Marvel bomb because Brie Larson opened her happy mouth to screech at the fans for being, quote, racist, sexist, misogynist, and for, quote, hating on Captain Marvel. You know what? There are certain people that get roles and they've achieved a measure of success in life, like a very high measure of success. To get, as an actor, a role in the MCU is one massive exposure to a massive paycheck. Like, that's just great for you as an actor if you get on a franchise that huge. I can understand being elated as fuck. But if you're a bad person underneath it all, it tends to all come to the surface because then you start thinking everybody wants to see, like Brie Larson, all of her stupid fashion shoot photos on Instagram that she's pretending are random IRL shots of just her sitting there. Remember all the shit that happened in the post she took down on Instagram when Stan Lee died? And it's clearly a lighting perfect, makeup done. She's got her designer handbag across her lap and she's leaning back with aviator sunglasses on with a wine glass in her hand looking ever so cool. It's clearly a staged shot. And she posts it with the tag, thinking about Stan Lee. What a great man. After he passed away. And it's like, Brie Larson, you have no class. Like, that was classless.
She also has no facial expression because I'm pretty sure she's a lich.
It's just, do you see what I mean about people like Brie Larson and Mark Ruffalo being actors that finally got like a huge measure of success, and now who they really are kind of like really comes out because now they've got a platform to talk, and it's like, holy shit, and this is what you say? You're really not great people, are you?
Well, it's like you can easily tell the difference between the ones like the Marvel cast characters who are great, who are good people, and those two. Like, seriously, compare them to the others. And what would you think? What do you think when you think about Chris Hemsworth?
Okay.
I like him.
Here's the thing, though.
Either you like him as a person, you like what he's done, or you're just at the very worst indifferent. I mean,
I have to do my civic duty here. Every single one of them is like this, with the exception, I think, of Chris Hemsworth. Every single one. Robert Downey Jr. is. That you've got Benedict Cumberbatch has his "This is what a feminist looks like" T-shirt on.
Don't bring up Chris Evans. I'm just still trying to get over it.
Yeah, Chris Evans is just as bad.
I feel
every
like
single one
I don't
of them
even feel like they're necessarily. I don't really, because I don't feel like they're as aggressive
in their fucking ivory towers talking about how great it is to denigrate all the people that voted for Trump. They're the elitist fucking actor snobs. Every single one of them. But every single one. They need to be taken down a peg. Every single one of them.
I hear you. And is that a problem that's with, okay, so I suggested, although I'm not married to the idea, that it's what they were like. And then when they got a platform in Elation, this is what they revealed. Or is it that they're basically normal people and whatever Hollywood does this to you?
Because of Hollywood.
Yeah, like it just you're surrounded by people that think a certain way, like Orange Man bad, progressivism good, the environment must be saved. Now let's go hang out with a bunch of politicians and feel powerful and fly all over the world in private jets, creating the carbon footprint of small countries.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that, yes, there is a level of that. I don't think that they have the convictions. They definitely, they're all like weak-spined cowards, every single fucking one of these people. But the fact that they have a gigantic megaphone for their fame and fortune means that these are cowardly, weak-willed, lacking of conviction actors that are parading around as better than you because of their status. And they have the ability to tell you what you should do. Every single one of them that has ever come out and said anything about how you should vote, about denigrating people for voting a certain way, every single one of them needs to have some sort of wake-up call. Every single one of them. And this is something that is endemic with the industry.
So we did have an article here, and we should probably get.
I'm just saying, I have very, very little love for these sorts of people, and I love to see them get their comeuppance. So this is partly like I'm not gonna lie. Polly was relishing in Mark Ruffalo. You're still fired. So was I.
Can I point out one exception to what Quiz said? I think the most honest, forthright person out of the entire group is Chris Evans' hairpiece.
Yeah.
Because he's trying really hard, man. He's working.
He doesn't have a hairpiece, man. He got the single follicle hair plugs. You know, like the $20,000.
No, I mean it's Avengers 2 hairpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Hairpiece. Yeah,
that really was. Yeah. In case you didn't know, Chris Evans' hairline is fake news. It totally is.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's the article that I ran with that joke off of, and like I like it more that like he lost his sack in the sense of, yeah, the Russo brothers, the directors of Avengers. Help me out here, guys. What's it actually called? Annihilation.
Yeah.
Annihilation of Avengers: Infinity War of Annihilation. The Russo brothers who directed it fired him unceremoniously and justifiably on Twitter. Mark, you're fired. And then he launches stuff back at them, and they respond, Mark, you're still fired. I love this picture of him so much. He's like, ooh, that hurts. And when he got his nuts cut off, I love it. Okay, so Mark.
You know what? Lindsay,
do the article.
I will give one concession, and I think that she's right. Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
I think Chris Pratt is like the only genuine person on the Marvel staff.
He also seems to be the one that's the most conservative.
He might very well be a conservative. He's always been,
like he keeps quiet about it, but I've heard him make some comments and say some things. Like he said something one time about he wanted to see more movies about like the everyman, you know, and then like he got a bunch of backlash, and he was like, "Look, I'm sorry."
You know what? You know what I'm hearing here is because you keep talking about Chris Pratt and like, you know, he seems the most level-headed and the most down to earth, and he's also a guy who's of strong faith, and he talks about his Christianity and a lot. So I guess what you're saying is the Avengers cast need Jesus. Is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah,
probably.
They all need Jesus.
Wait, on the Avengers team or in their lives?
Well, they could have Kung Fu Jesus from last week on the Avengers team.
Yes,
he destroyed the whole Olympian contingent was taken out by Kung Fu Jesus. So you know
he turns Hydro Man into wine.
Hydro Man into wine. Oh my god.
Okay, Mark Ruffalo lost his backpack and his nuts, and his fans think it holds MCU secrets. The hunt is on. Mark Ruffalo, who plays Bruce Banner, who played Bruce Banner.
Past tense.
Yes. The Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has left his backpack in a New York taxi. To plead for help, he took to Twitter, like the little pansy he is, posting a picture of a similar bag saying, quote, New Yorkers that I love so much, please help me find my backpack. I left with my black with red trimmed Topo backpack in a yellow cab last night. Looks like the one in the pic in UWS of NYC with no way to contact the cab, and I don't know the number. End quote. Some fans responded with helpful suggestions, referencing that he go get his balls back and learn how to be a man. Some referenced an incident when Ruffalo had lost his wallet. Can this guy hold on to anything? Some had some cheeky jokes about finding the backpack in the Hulk's giant purple pants. Others, however, have only one thing on their minds. Does this have anything to do with Avengers 4? New Yorkers that I love so much. Oh, that is the quote of the tweet. Avengers 4 teaser may be released soon, reads one comment, accompanied by a GIF expressing suspicion. Another says outright, quote, I guarantee this backpack contained a rough cut of Avengers 4. No, it didn't.
No, it's all the props that he stole when he got fired.
Yeah, because he's gonna need money. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to be a Hollywood star? You got agents, lawyers, publicists, your house to pay for. That fucking, I mean, this guy, can you imagine how much this guy's over budgeted thinking he was gonna be in the next 6 MCU films? Mark Ruffalo, you fuck. Okay, anyway. Ruffalo's search for his property, however, turned out to be successful thanks to communications with the New York City Taxi and Limousine limousine commission, so it's unlikely that there was any kind of movie promotion involved. Unfortunately, they were not able to find his balls. The world may never know what was in the backpack, but Ruffalo will no doubt be relieved to have it back. And regardless of when and how the trailer for Avengers 4 is revealed, Ruffalo himself will be there in the movie. I hope not. When it's released May 3rd, 2019.
He's going to be in this movie. It's just that he's not going to be in any other.
Yeah, because they've already filmed it and closed it.
Let's don't piss all over my hopes. Remember, he was not there for the reshoots that the Russo brothers did, and there was a host of them. For all we know, a number of scenes were reshot, like that did originally contain Ruffalo, but he's not there anymore, so they simply wrote him out of those scenes. I'm not saying he's not going to be in the movie. He's just going to be in a lot less of the movie, which means automatically the movie will be better.
They're going to Photoshop a shrub in where he was standing. So there's just this random shrubbery following the Avengers around.
There's just a life-size cutout of Mark Ruffalo. It'll have the same stage presence, you know?
Yeah. So, when Quiz first pitched this story, did anyone else picture it was a fanny pack instead of a backpack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, chat. What do you think was in his backpack? What do you think that he had in there that he was so desperate to get back quickly before anybody found it?
His nudes.
Tampons, his nudes. I thought it was a 10-inch dildo personally, but that was me.
It's the one ads.
Cynical Lindsay thinks it was Polly's piss eggs. Okay, maybe. He might be into Asian cuisine. We don't know. It's possible. Here's a quick
remind you that I was the one that told Polly about that. I still love the fact that he's the one that gets the blowback from it, though.
Yeah,
because he's the one who brought it up on the monkey stream.
I was trying to bring it up for hilarity's sake, and if you guys want to keep hating on if you want to keep hating on a traditional, I guess it's Szechuan cuisine. Wasn't it from Szechuan province, Quiz?
I think so.
Yeah, all cultures are beautiful people.
Yeah,
no, they're not.
This is why they make fun of you, dear.
My God. Far, I am Satan yet, seems to think that it was drugs. What kind of drugs?
Probably the bad kind.
No, Quaaludes.
Yeah.
No, he's not cool enough.
He had his Bill Cosby stash in there.
No. It was vial after vial of amyl nitrate. Anybody who gets that, press 1 in chat. Okay, let's see.
Well, he's a male feminist, let's remember. So
Yeah.
he might be all Roman Polanski ready.
There's a bug out bag. You need to leave the country.
It was meth. So let's talk about this super quick story that I wanted to bring up, because man, when a story starts and goes in a certain direction, you can never predict the amount of momentum and longevity it'll have. Look at this. Marvel Comics removes James Gunn from the cover of the Silver Surfer Omnibus. It's just a quote from him.
Wow.
They are really bored over there.
Like, isn't that wild? Like, you see what I mean? Like, you can never, like, okay, so the James Gunn thing, and he got fired from it and so on. Like, what does he have to do with, James Gunn have to do with Silver Surfer? Like, yeah, okay, he does Guardians of the Galaxy, which are cosmic-oriented stories, but Silver Surfer is not even in them. Neither is anybody with cosmic powers. It's a little odd.
It was just a little blurb about saying, his recommendation of it. That's all it was.
Yeah, yes, it was.
I don't know why. Like, this is one thing that I will be the contrarian here. I don't get the fuss over James Gunn, the why he got fired or any of that stuff. Yes, jokes were off color, were not to taste. They weren't tasteful jokes, but they were jokes.
Yeah.
Anyone treating them not as jokes either is misrepresenting him, which, now don't get me wrong, he is yet another one of these Hollywood elite douchebags that needs to be taken down a peg. And that's the reason why I'm not getting up in arms about him being fired. Because, if Disney wanted to fire him for those tweets, absolutely they should. But at the same time, I don't think that anything that he has done or said is necessarily that bad.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, it's a omnibus collection of Silver Surfer stories. And this is the back cover you're looking at right now. Here it is, a blast of a comic series. James Gunn, writer and director of Guardians of the Galaxy. That's how small it is, and they took it off. And this is like a, they got it. Like, let's get a quote from a famous director that people know, and then take it off of there. It's wild how long these stories keep going on for. You never know the kind of longevity that they're going to have, or kind of longevity, not the story, but the reputation will have. Let's just get them off of there. Why even have it? It's like, wow, wild.
Well, Disney's got to protect their image, and anything remotely dealing with bad touching kids, no matter how humorous its intent, they have a reputation to uphold, and they are strictly fascistic about that.
And that's the thing, is I don't criticize Disney for what they did. I criticize the people taking joy in him getting fired for it.
Yeah,
because they're patently like, I love the guy, but I refuse to watch any of his videos about James Gunn, Ethan Van Sciver's videos. Every single time, he's just like, he's relishing in it and, saying like, oh, you deserve to be fired. You deserve to be fired. Now, do I think James Gunn would have given the same consideration to, like, say, a conservative that made those same jokes and got fired? No, I don't think he would have. I think he would be just as smug and self-righteous.
Yeah, he was about the Roseanne thing.
But
God damn, was he ever?
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah,
the whole point.
No, it doesn't.
But you should have heard his stuff about gun control, which I found super ironic given his name. But I replied to one of his tweets myself when he was just going off about gun control, and I was like, "Look, it's obvious from your comments you don't even understand what you're talking about."
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty common, unfortunately.
You're right.
Yeah. Especially about guns.
Yeah. But they're scary looking.
Night Peter.
All right, let's talk about a story, another one that I'm excited by. It's not just Ruffalo getting fired. That made me happy. It's and losing his sack that made me happy. Let's talk about Mags Visaggio and Kwanzaa totally dropping a ball in public.
Man, that picture of Kwanzaa is so douchey. Like, he's got his little fedora and all serious.
It's studioed up as hell, because if you ever just look him up on YouTube, he don't look like that on the regular at all.
I bet he's got a unibrow.
ComicsGate.
And industry professionals attempt and fail to DMCA strike Richard Meyer YouTube channel. This is kind of garbage here for Bounding to Comics. You need an apostrophe right there, because it looks like the guy's name is Richard Myers. But it's anyway, for those of you who don't know, Richard Meyer, diversity&comics, aka your boy Zach, who looks much better in real life than he does here. This is such a bad picture.
He's a pretty weathered fella.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens after multiple tours in combat, huh?
Yeah.
He has
a bad idea.
He has a comic book channel that these people really don't like, and these are two huge social justice warriors. I mean, this is Kwanzaa, whatever you want to call him, who writes an indie series called Black AF, Black as Fuck. It's basically a ripoff of X-Men, where only black folks have superpowers in this world he created, and the adventures ensue. And I use the term adventure very lightly. This is Magdalene Visaggio, and she's a trans person whose entire identity, both IRL and online, is I'm trans. And they both have a real big beef with our boy Zach over here off to the far left. Well, because they think he's an alt-righter, they think he's a white nationalist, they think he's a racist, a transphobe, a homophobe, a biphobe, you name it, they think he's it. Because he has criticism for their comics. Anyway, on Thanksgiving,
do they not think is a racist, sexist, transphobe, so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's on Thanksgiving, because they thought they would get away with it when it was a holiday, when people weren't watching. They both DMCA struck him for reviewing their comics on his channel, like for using copywritten content. Like they personally own the copyright on it, so therefore we're going to DMCA strike him. Other people will. That'll be 3 strikes. His channel's gone. This is malicious in the simplest terms. I guess there are, and I was finding out about this through Ricada Law Rekreta Law's channel and through Zach himself going on a couple of live streams, which he very rarely does, but he wanted to talk about this incident. And you can see his, you now have 2 copyright strikes. You get one more copyright strike and we'll have to disable your account. This is the official thing that he got at his Diversity and Comics webpage. They wanted to take down his channel maliciously and thought they'd be able to pull this off. He, of course, responded by, no, it was totally fair use. I didn't even show every page of the comic. I always skip at least 2 pages. And plus, you wouldn't be able to pirate off of my stuff anyway, because I'm holding the comic book in my lap. The camera's really shaky. It would be the worst kind of pirating job ever if you tried taking it out of my video. So come on, this is obviously fair use. It's transformative in terms of criticism. So I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to fight it in court. And after the days went by, they eventually backed down and dropped both of their suits because they knew they didn't have a case at all. They were hoping other people were going to jump on the bandwagon and he was going to get his 3 strikes and his channel would get taken down. That's the level that these people play on. Not the bottom of the barrel, but 2 feet down into the earth underneath the bottom of the barrel. That's how low they play. And it failed.
Yes. It failed miserably and deservedly so.
Yes. According to Meyer, Kwanzaa Foreign was the first to issue a DMCA strike against Meyer's channel. This was due to Meyer showing the interior from Foreign's upcoming title, Black AF, which at the time was not publicly released yet. Meyer accepted his fault, took down the video, and allowed DMCA strike to remain against his channel. The second strike on his channel was from Magdalene Visaggio from Eternity Girl. Don't read that. It's so bad. Yeah, but you can read it if you want. I'm just telling you my opinion. As she issued a strike against the 1-year-old video that Meyer had uploaded entitled Comic Book Hangout. In the video, Meyer allegedly discussed one of Visaggio's books, as the video had been since taken down. Is unable to be independently verified which book Meyer was discussing. The video has since been taken down, but the DMCA strike remained. YouTube uses a copyright policing system based on the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. As such, when YouTube identifies a DMCA violation, it will issue a warning and a takedown notice to the channel owner and the offending content, adding a, quote, strike to the channel. If 3 strikes are issued, a user's channel and the library of videos are deleted, as well as a ban on the user from creating a new YouTube channel, which is what, in my opinion, they were after from the beginning. It wasn't about protecting their copyright. It was about sticking it to this guy. Thankfully for creators, DMCA strikes.
Late.
Yeah. And on a holiday, hoping they could get away with it, that he wouldn't notice, that he'd be out of town not paying attention. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thankfully for creators, DMCA strikes can be resolved in 3 ways. The user who reported the DMCA strike can retract the claim. The offending user can issue a counter notification, explain to YouTube why their channel was unjustly struck, or by waiting 90 days for the strike to expire. In an attempt to save his channel, Meyer utilized the second option and issued a counter notification to YouTube explaining he did not violate copyright laws because of the fair use doctrine. And it was successful because it's like, do you too, Kwanzaa and Mags, really want to fight this one out in court? No, you don't, because you know you don't have a leg to stand on in this, in my opinion. And that's why they withdrew their complaints. They were hoping it was just going to get all of his videos deleted and his channel taken down. And then, wahaha.
Mags can't win anyway because she doesn't own the character.
Eternity Girl? That's not hers?
No, it's a DC property.
So she was striking on what? The basis of her art?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. No, well, on the basis of her salty bitterness is why she was striking.
Salty bitterness.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Dax?
I think they should stop being stupid on purpose. And I think they're doing it on purpose to get attention at this point. That's all they really want. They don't care if they win or not. They just want people to go, oh, hey, you said something. Well, I guess I'll check out your stuff and see what you're all about. They don't care. They don't give a shit.
You know what I find interesting? You're doing it for fame at this point. It's like the sort of attention that's in and around it. They see the amount of followers, and more important than just followers, tweets and retweets that Diversity in Comics, when he was on Twitter, got, and that Yellow Flash and the Umbrella Guy and, of course, Ethan Van Sciver get on Twitter. If you look at Mags's Twitter account and you take a look at Tim Doyle's and all these people.
I just tried to look at Mags's account. I'm blocked.
Yeah.
I've never tweeted at her. So I ended up having to go to private browsing to see it.
Do you know why you're blocked? I can tell you.
Because I follow Richard. Because I follow Richard C. Meyer or somebody.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You follow me. You follow Richard Meyer. You follow EVS. And they use a blockchain. If you follow someone they don't like, you get blocked by them automatically. And their tweets and retweets will get like 25 likes. Like, it's a small group of people, but yet these people are the ones who claim they're on the right side of history, and it's a small group of alt-writers in ComicsGate that are making things bad for everyone. Bullshit.
Wait. You're blocked?
Yeah.
I'm blocked?
I'm not.
I'm blocked.
I'm blocked.
I follow Richard Meyer. I follow Ethan Van Sciver. I follow Yellow Flash. I follow that umbrella guy.
What did you do, Eve? She blocked a fellow trans person. You need to write an individual thing. It's just.
How dare you?
I have a whole nother issue with her, but
Oh yeah, fuck. Lots of people do.
Well, it's kind of sad that this is how they're going about trying to get attention, because they think that striking out against Richard or any other comic skater is going to help their career, when Megs actually has some talent. I've read some of her stuff that actually wasn't bad. The Visionaries backup story in Transformers Unicron #5 was actually really good. And it wasn't nearly as wordy as what her Visionaries versus Transformers story was. It was actually concise and to the point, and it was a pretty good story. And I mean, it shows that Megs has talent. She just doesn't have the editorial oversight needed to really flesh out a story, because the raw talent is there. It's just not the ability to express it properly in comic format.
This makes my head hurt too. I'm going through her Twitter thing, and I came across an image of the current Miss Marvel, the Muslim one.
Sorry.
Leading a group of illegal immigrants as she knocks down what appear to be ICE officers, saying "to the polls," and it says in a little yellow box says "democracy, sometimes a contact sport." What?
Yeah, apparently they all are going to be voting.
There's I don't understand how you don't see the insane problem with this. How blind are you?
Crazy people can't see they're crazy. That's best I got. California was pushing to allow illegal immigrants to vote for a little while. I think Florida tried that too.
Okay, there it is. All right. I wanted to touch. I don't want to use the word
boobies.
No, I just want to talk about this real quick because it just struck my attention of like, holy fuck, what? And share, because we're professionals. Underworld star Kate Beckinsale praises foreskin facials.
Oh God!
I thought we were going to talk about the other thing to do with
facial.
So
before we get into this, I just want to say Kate Beckinsale's hot as fuck. I'm just gonna put that out.
She is, but
and I mean, she wears tight black leather, and like here she is wielding dual guns. I mean, pretty hot, pretty hot.
Let's be honest. Any sentence that has Kate Beckinsale and facials in it is going to be a sentence I listen to.
Well, like I said, it grabbed my attention for obvious reasons. Underworld star Kate Beckinsale praised a highly unusual facial practice that involves cloned foreskins in a now deleted Instagram post. This past Saturday, the actress took to Instagram in praise of the practice. Beckinsale wrote, quote, after a long flight, excuse me. Jesus.
For a long night, yeah, I know.
After a long night, there's nothing I enjoy more than a facial. Okay. After a long flight.
That sentence is going to haunt you.
After a long... God damn it. Okay.
Kate Beckinsale.
After a long flight, I do like to lie down and be covered.
Oh God!
Lie down and be covered. Okay.
I like to lie down and be covered in a mask of liquefied cloned foreskins. Frankly, who doesn't? Thank you, Georgia Louise Gisk or whatever, for an amazing facial. I especially liked you reassuring me it would be light on penis.
What?
Like, what the fuck, guys? What
Look,
the
if all
fuck?
she wanted was dick on her face, I mean, I'm available. All right.
Right?
Yeah, I'll slap my dick right on her eyebrows. I don't.
The facial uses liquefied cloned foreskins from infants from South Korean descent.
What?
So
Wait.
I don't know. I'm just going to keep reading and not...
Modern Lady Bathroy.
Celebrity facialist. I love that that's an occupation. Georgia Louise, who Beckinsale praised in her Instagram post, described the facial on her website. The facial includes a cleanse, followed by an intensive yet painless TCA peel micro needling with stem cell application, followed by an electrifying galvanic something mask to calm, hydrate, and cool the skin. The serum, it's a cocktail formula. Epidermal growth factor. EGF is
Cocktail.
Cocktail, all right.
EGF is derived from the progenitor cells of the human fibroblast cells, which help generate collagen and elastin to tighten and firm the skin. The process allows the active ingredients to be transported deep into the skin by creating a temporary microchannel.
Balls deep.
The Edmonton Sun reports the foreskins come from South Korea and describe just how the facial is supposed to work. The penis facial works by using a serum made from stem cells cultivated from the foreskins of Korean babies. These cells, which are thought to activate aging cells, help boost collagen production, thereby helping wrinkles and fine lines to disappear. As Korea has a custom of circumcising their young male infants, they have a large supply of foreskins. Also,
Just got that shit laying around. Is there like a North Korean knockoff version?
Actually, I think that's the premium version because you have to smuggle those out. So
oh god, and numerous stem cell banks, which are then used to export the cells worldwide. Kate Beckinsale isn't the only Hollywood actress getting foreskin facials.
no, of course she's not.
This is fucking priceless.
Pop-Tart says, "What the fuck did I come into?"
In an interview with Vogue Australia via dailymail.com, Kate Blanchett opened up about her and her fellow actress Sandra Bullock have both used this service. Oh, they do a threesome with it, huh?
They just all kneel down and they accept it to the face.
Sandy Bullock and I saw this facialist in New York.
Sandy Bullock.
This is Sandy Bullock, and I saw this
Sandy Bullock.
facialist. And she gives us what we call a penis facial, and it's something. I don't know what it is, or whether it just smells a bit like sperm.
What? What? No, wait. I don't know what it is. What?
Then why you spreading on your face, bitch?
Or whether it just smells a
Those are
bit
certainly
like sperm. There's some enzyme in it, so Sandy refers to it as her penis facial.
No.
But it doesn't stop there. Other stars, like Spider-Man's Emma Stone, and there you go, guys, it's related to comics. Like Spider-Man's Emma Stone also had high praises for this treatment, according to the website.
Well,
George is a miracle worker. Katy Perry also had a high review for the beautician. I love George's facials.
Okay, hang on a second. Now, I'm picturing this as catching on with the Hollywood elites, right? So this chick's got to go in her back room where there's like 8 Asian dudes beating off, and she's like, pick it up. We got 5 more celebrities coming in. But blood's coming out. Shut up and get back to work.
That was pure gold, y'all. I mean, I can't.
Hey, Polly, so you know how you were talking about about how Jack talking about bum fights last time was gonna like ruin you guys.
Oh yeah.
I think the bleeding semen producers is probably gonna make that one look tame.
They
Right?
love their penis facials that smell like sperm from imported Korean baby foreskins, and we want Edwin, the upstanding man boyette, to come on this channel. I don't think it's going to happen.
Hey,
guys.
man. You gave me a hard time about homeless combat last time, but that was our best watched episode yet.
It really was. And for those of you, it wasn't combat. It was just asking them to do cartwheels, you said. You made them fight?
Yeah. No, but I would if I thought I'd get away with it.
Oh.
Those guys got sued. Did you ever see bum fights?
No.
Yeah,
I used to own all of them.
You're a goddamn liar. Everyone's watched a bum fight.
I haven't.
Okay, you're a liar too. I thought we were friends.
For those of you who are somehow still watching, please feel free to press like and damn it. I want to say share it, but that means more people are going to hear us talking about it.
There is nothing wrong with making the homeless work for the money. Cartwheels is healthy for them. It's cardio. So make the homeless do cartwheels. That's all I'm saying.
And look, Straight Sith Male is here, and he's like, I got nothing. We've reduced Straight Sith Male to commentlessness. This is awful. Okay.
Yeah,
apparently Zell does not watch you frequently because he's sitting here going homeless combat in all caps.
Yeah,
like this is news to him.
You should watch more of our streams, man. We get to some weird places.
Oh,
thanks, Jack.
There's Poppy shaming me again. Fuck you, Jack.
You're the one that brought up the penis facials unprovoked, Polydub.
I hear you, but Kate, look. The point of our comic book pitches is we don't know what everyone else is pitching, so it's supposed to be a surprise. I also don't like to read the articles in advance, so they're also a surprise. And sometimes it backfires, like it just did. Okay.
This is amazing.
I like how Poppy's like, fuck you, Jack, but I'm not the one that brought up the article about Kate Beckinsale's love of penis facials.
Okay, let's go over here. We got one. Oh, shit. No, we don't. Hold on. Professionalism is afoot. Give me a second, guys. I just accidentally closed the tab that I was trying to read. Duh. One more article before we move on to our pitches. And it is from the geniuses at the Mary Sue. Because, you know, when you find a comic gold mine, you keep looking for more gold. Sony announces plans for an all-female animated Spider-Women film.
Dun, dun, dun.
Are you excited?
Because they're not tired of failing.
No. I had very little interest in Spider-Man to begin with, and now it just made me not want to see any Spider-Man.
There's one line in here, and when we get to it, I think you'll know it immediately. That made me laugh. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won't hit theaters until Christmas Day, but we're already writing articles attempting to put a feminist bent on it. Yeah. But Sony is already ramping up plans for an exciting new spin-off, an all-female Spider-Women animated film. Few details have been released, but that won't stop us. In addition to its focus on female characters, Sony is assembling a crew of women to helm the spin-off. Wow. Because, you know, we need to get women to write women characters women, because we're the Mary Sue. Lauren Montgomery, who actually did a great job on Batman Year One, the anime feature, it was really well done. And Wonder Woman is in talks to direct, from the script written by Beck Smith, Phil Lord, and Chris Miller, the Lego Movie, who developed the Spider-Verse film, with Lord co-writing the script, are expected to be creatively involved in the spin-off. While little is known about the plot of the film, they're still yakking for some reason, it is rumored to be centered on a family. Rumored by who? From where? You're guessing.
That's going to be about shopping.
Well, get this. Is rumored, you know, in other words, around the coffee table at the Mary Sue offices in the morning. They don't have an office. Who am I kidding? In the Mary Sue kitchen at one of their houses, they're yakking about what they think they'd like it to be on. Around a family with 3 generations of web-slinging women. It's pretty sure bet that one of these women will be Gwen Stacy / Spider-Gwen, who is already set to appear in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where she is voiced by Bumblebee's Haley Steinfeld.
Ugh.
Spider-Gwen has been a massively popular character.
With who?
Standards low for that.
Okay, since her first appearance in Edge of Spider-Verse #2 and her glorious unfridging.
Thank you, Tess.
Her solo comic series was a bestseller when it came out in 2015, and she has since appeared in the animated series, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'd like to show you how games work with this kind of bullshit right here. Just a quick little thing. Her solo comic series, notice series, okay? Like the entire thing. A series is not one issue. A series is a bunch of them. That's why the word plural, it goes on, right? Notice they said the entire series was a bestseller. Oh, and there's a hyperlink. Well, what does that take us to? Oh, look, it's another Mary Sue article, you self-shilling fuckers. Spider-Gwen and Princess Leia among the top 10 best-selling comics of 2015. And when you look down here, look, number one. Okay, you get it. They're all number ones that are bestsellers. Yeah, number ones are always the bestseller because it's number ones. That's why Marvel keeps republishing in a failed business model new number one series all the time. The series Spider-Gwen isn't a bestseller. The number one issue was a bestseller, and then the series fucking tanked after that.
8 facts.
But for those listening who don't
Yes,
know,
the Mary Sue does hate facts.
yeah,
Yes.
they absolutely do. Of course, like the new series might be great. Everybody wants a number one for all the obvious reasons because it's number one. It's collectible. Maybe it's the start of a new great series. Not likely with Marvel and DC these days, but nonetheless, people are still willing to buy it. But take a look. What are the best-selling issues the entire year? Take a look at that list. It's not one of them isn't a number one. And from that, they take the entire series of Spider-Gwen as a bestseller. Really? Is that why it tanked after number one? And everybody mocks it and laughs at it. And the only good thing is when they finally redesigned her costume to not be completely ridiculous. I mean, we said it before and we'll say it again. This is why SJWs suck when they get, and NPCs suck when they get involved in comics, because they don't read comics. They don't care about comics. They don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. They just want you to adopt certain things and do certain things because they're demanding them. We want more women in comics. We want more LGBT POCs in comics or movies or video games. They don't watch the movies. They don't play the video games. They don't read the comics, but they'll tell you what you should like in them. Pisses me off.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Dax?
I honestly think they should just leave us alone. We were fine without their influence, and we don't need them. They can go in now.
If I need to take lessons in being succinct from Dax, he can just really get it all out like that. It's great.
Have they established the plot? Like, what sandwiches are they going to make?
Oh, damn it.
I would mind.
Are they going to talk about how dreamy Peter is? And who do they like more, Peter or Ben?
Well, it's 3 generations of Spider-Women, so I'm hoping they're not all into Peter, because you'd have to have like some like grandma liking
There's
them.
only one Spider-Woman.
Well, you know,
it's Jessica Drew.
Madam Web needs to dust off that, you know.
Madam Web.
Oh my
There's
god.
a character I haven't thought about in a long time.
Look about strong women. I mean, goddamn.
You
Shaper
too.
of universes. Let's go.
Madam Web was in probably one of the last. You remember the '90s Spider-Man cartoon?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's the one I grew up with, and Madam Web was probably in the last of the episodes I saw of that series.
Classic character.
Apparently, they went on after that, but it was the part where she was she was teaching Spider-Man to lead a group, and then she collected all the Spider-Mans from around the different universes, and so there's all these different types of Spider-Man, including the one that was just an actor. That was funny.
Actually, you know what? Pop-Tart has a really valid point here. Women in these things aren't bad. We've always had them. They make weird fucking women who in no way acted like people do. Yeah. It's not bringing women into comics. It's bringing your what's her name who went on to esports?
Heather Antos.
Heather Antos. It's hiring women like that who show up with a chip on their shoulder and a fucking agenda and looking for a fight online, which seems to be what they were hired for because it's all they do. So I'd have to imagine that's what they're being paid to do. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, they've missed daddy hugs or whatever. I don't know. They're incompetent weirdos. But some of the characters,
somebody with a chip on their shoulder that's obviously looking for a fight. I don't get that.
Your work wife. You hired
them
because
that was the joking criticism. Fuck, that was fun. Your work wife.
You know what? I've seen it happen in offices before. You hire somebody incompetent because they're pretty. It doesn't matter the gender either.
Like I don't know that was the case, but goddamn, was there a lot of comedy in that?
Yeah. But, you know, like Spider-Woman was a kind of an interesting character because she was like a SHIELD agent for a while and she did undercover work. Yeah, she worked for Hydra, but that was kind of weak. But the original Spider-Woman comic series wasn't bad back in the 70s. So they could do something with her, but just having a team of women just to have a team of women is kind of lazy. So there has to be a reason for it.
Yeah, Zelthor makes a great point here. I got no issue with Spider-Gwen. Just keep the character design and rework the story. Write it well. There you go. 100% I agree.
No, I disagree with that entirely because I think the character design is also garbage.
Really?
It is kind of lazy because it's just like,
it's pretty popular.
What if
people like it?
Lived?
I hate everything about Spider-Gwen.
No,
I will kind of. I kind of agree with Quiz on this because it's kind of lazy. What if Gwen Stacy lived and she was bitten by the spider instead of Peter was? It's like, okay, that's great for a one-off what if comic, but then create an entire series and then build more series around this and stuff. It's just,
I would have been
garbage. Get rid of her.
It kind of works with like Miles Morales that like if you create a fully fledged character that through weird means ends up like one of my favorite things to come out of Spider-Man in terms of like not Peter Parker is Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. And he's just from a future 2099 world, a fully fledged out world. He's his own character. He has spider powers, but he didn't get them at all in the same way. And he's kind of, it's so brilliant the way that, just really sharp the way they wrote it. He, inside the story, is ripping off Spider-Man. Like, that's where he got the idea from. It's like, I want to create a corporate raider, and I got the idea from this guy back in the late 20th century named Spider-Man. And so I'm going to try and genetically create this character, and ends up, unfortunately, getting those powers himself that he didn't intend to. It's an interesting idea. It's like, obviously, we're just trying to put Spider-Man in the future. How are we going to do this? Well, a guy in the future rips off Spider-Man's powers and tactics. I'm like, that's kind of clever. It's quasi-meta in a way, you know?
Yeah, if it were me, I would wipe out about 3/4 of the Spider-Man knockoff characters.
Agreed.
And get it back to its core roots. Because, like, Spider-Woman, despite the name, had a different power set than Spider-Man. So she'd be fine.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2099 has some spider powers, but they're not the same ones as Peter Parker does.
He's doing his own timeline thing anyway, so he's in the future, supposed to be anyway.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. In case they want to revive 2099, fine, he's fine. And Ben Reilly, I would probably keep around as like a backup character, you know, because he could have his own like unique thing going on. So I'd leave him alone, and I'd wipe out every other one. I don't like Miles Morales. I think he's a lazy character. I don't like Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, whatever they're calling her now.
Ghost Spider, yeah.
That's stupid. And
you know what's funny? It's like you say that about Miles Morales, and it's like, I like Miles Morales, and one of my friends argued to me, he's like, you know why you think that, Polly? Because your standards have been lowered. That it's not, it's like Miles Morales isn't bad, but is he anywhere near as good as Miguel O'Hara, for example? I'm like, oh God, he's nowhere near as good. It's like, so why are you saying he's good? And I'm like, well, because considering the things, he goes, exactly.
It's the Overton window. They went so far over that
they do something slightly mediocre that's not crazy, and you're just like, well, I guess this is decent at least, you know.
Yeah, you know what?
Grateful I'm getting this much.
Black Romeo brings up a good point. Noir Spider-Man. I liked all the noir characters. I love the whole thing, but I'm biased, so I don't know if it's legit good. I just love the noir-esque storyline and the time period that they put them in. I loved Gotham by Gaslight, so maybe I'm just biased.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a wide appeal. I don't know.
They're good as one-offs or what-ifs. They're not good as mainstay characters.
Here's the major thing that I thought was kind of odd. The only noir one I've read so far, because I have in the smaller than usual size trade paperbacks, I have both noir X-Men and noir Spider-Man. I don't have the one that I was really looking for, which was Punisher. That was the one I really wanted to find, but they didn't have it.
Dax, have you read any of the noir? Any of them?
No, I mean, I've gotten a lot of synopsis, but I've never actually had the pleasure of reading the noir stuff.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good. Like Man Without Eyes, the Spider-Man. Well, yeah, definitely worth your time to read.
So yeah, like I really liked the X-Men one because that's the only one I've read, but it's not the X-Men.
You know, you are a weird cat when it comes to that stuff. Like your whole beef with Marvel stems from what they did to the X-Men. Like it's just, you have such a purist thing about them. It's really interesting.
Well, the weird thing about it is like the X-Men are mutants, right?
Yes.
Obviously, they had to make some sort of concessions, but the only thing about it is that the only thing that makes them the X-Men is it's the characters and personality types. They're not superheroes. They're not detectives. They're not, they don't have superpowers at all. It's just a detective story with characters that have personalities and names similar to X-Men characters. That's all it is.
You know what I was thinking of? The, Jack, when you said like if they ever decide to bring back the 2099 universe, I think that Marvel was, this is an overused phrase, but kind of like ahead of their time. And I mean in a bad way. Because they wanted to do a cyberpunk world. That's clearly what it was, right? And it's like cyberpunk, I think, if anything, would cyberpunk Marvel would have been more successful now than then, if anything. Like it's so hashtag bring back 2099. I mean,
here's the thing: in the 90s, there was something going on. A lot of cyberpunk was being reinvented in the late 80s and early 90s. Yes, the cyberpunk as a genre was conceived by things like Blade Runner. And you know, even before that with the novels Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. So you can trace cyberpunk back to really, really, really long times, you know, long ago. But you've got to think what else was going on in the late 80s and early 90s. You had things like Cyberpunk 2020, or was it 2099? I can't remember. 2020. That was the first one? Was 2020?
Well, that was the more popular one. You're thinking of like the William Gibson books, like Burning Chrome and Neuromancer. That really was heavy influence for cyberpunk in the early 90s.
You also had things like the role-playing games coming out, the cyberpunk role-playing games. All of those were being published around that same time. And what was sold in comic book stores aside from regular comic books? Tabletop games. So you had cyberpunk. It's right there in the name. And then you had things like Shadowrun was taking off. So it was the perfect time to release 2099 back then. I also think that there's been a resurgence in cyberpunk. So
and that's what I'm saying. To revisit it now would be a smart move. It's a property they completely own. Don't bring back Punisher 2099 because and Ravage or Ravager 2099. Ravage because those were both just awful.
DC character.
Well, the first couple of issues of each of those had a solid premise, and then they went completely off the rails. And that's the problem, is they tried too hard, especially after about the second year of the titles. They got really carried away bringing Thor in and all these other nonsense things. But like the Ghost Rider 2099 is really more like what you're talking about, where a lot of stuff that he was doing was in cyberspace.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really interesting, but it's incredibly dated now. But
Yeah, it is. But I
gonna...
think a resurgence of it and a way of doing it in a more modern sense and be more vague about the technologies instead of being so specific, that causes less dating. Like, I remember there was a reference to a dial-up tone in one comic, and it was like, ooh, yeah, see, don't do things like that. Like, don't reference current technology in a sense to make it seem like it's techie. If that's how you feel.
Exactly. But I think that if they did it now, it would bomb horribly, because look who they have as their standby writers.
Oh God, you're not wrong. It's like here's this great idea, and it's going to be all about so it's the future, so that means everybody's non-binary.
Yeah,
it's going to be dystopian because Orange Man made it dystopian.
Oh, right,
exactly.
yeah. That's why corporations took over, because the Orange Emperor became king. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, and then you got to worry about like G. Willow Wilson's rendition of 2099 would be terrifying.
Isn't that a frightening prospect? That no matter how good the idea is, that the writers that they have on staff that they're probably going to farm the work to are just going to not do anything with it interesting or ruin it. That's sad.
Yep.
Well, it can't last forever. If the comic book sales are any kind of indication. But now is the time in our show where we move on to pitches. And as I always do, to volunteer somebody for the task, Quiz, you're first, buddy.
All right. Well, I've got a weird one. I personally really dug this series. It's a 6-issue miniseries, written by Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti, and Justin Gray. Art by Stephanie Rue, Elliot Fernandez, and Flavano Moriat. Color by Paul Mounts and Alex Sinclair. Letters by John J. Hill and Marilyn Patrizzo. I am pitching. Hold on, let me screen share. Harley Quinn and Power Girl.
Nice.
This is a really, really good series. Essentially, the premise is that this takes place during a bit in the New 52 Harley Quinn series, where the Power Girl was fighting a big bad monster in space called the Fist, and he punches her, and she flies across the cosmos and lands on the beach in Coney Island, right outside of Harley's apartment, and she wakes up with amnesia. And typical sitcom amnesia hijinks ensue. Harley realizes who she is and then hatches a scheme that she's trying to convince Power Girl that they are a superhero team and that Harley is her sidekick. So there's this bit where they go to the mall because reasons, I don't know, but they find Clock King and Sportsmaster, D-list supervillains, for those in the DC know. Were robbing a jewelry store, and they get up to try and stop them. And the Clock King activates a portal device and sends them all the way across the galaxy. And then it becomes a sort of Harley Quinn, Power Girl, buddy cop, Flash Gordon, fucked up sort of story. I personally dug the shit out of it. There's great bits where Harley keeps on getting guns from various different monsters and keeps killing people right in front of Power Girl. And Power Girl keeps getting upset, saying things like, "I told you not to kill people." What the hell, Quinn? Wait a minute. I know it's like an itty bitty thing would do that. I said no killing. I swear I thought it would be like a blackhead extractor. Yeah. It's funny. It's got really good art. I really enjoy the art here, and it's a sort of I guess a comedy of errors that everyone, if they are even remotely interested in these two characters, should read.
It's been on my list for a minute, but I haven't gotten around to picking it up yet.
It's available in trade paperback.
Nice.
Johnny Hellcat. They go to the mall because women. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah.
All right,
mean-
there we are. You know what? I'm going to call that successful. That sounds fun as fuck. I want to read it.
Oh yeah, the Proto Minions days. I actually recommended this to Mustafa, and he went out and bought it, and he dug the ever loving shit out of it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that up. Okay. So, Jack, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, I changed mine at the last minute. So
were you recommending the same thing as Quiz?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't like Harley Quinn.
Oh,
I know.
that's a
Fighting
bold
words.
claim, man.
It's fine. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm recommending G.I.
Okay to be
Joe.
wrong, Jack.
Yeah, I know. G.I. Joe issue 21, the silent issue.
Yeah. I know this one. This is great. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not actually going to show any art from it because I want you guys to find it. They did reprint it in the omnibus trade paperbacks a few years ago that I think IDW released. But there is no dialogue in this book at all. The most dialogue you're going to see is this cover right here, where they actually have words. Otherwise, it's completely silent because Snake Eyes can't talk. And he's on a rescue mission. Now, there's a little known follow-up to this, where Snake Eyes is captured, and who has to come rescue him? Storm Shadow and Scarlet. Also
Really?
a silent issue. It's G.I. Joe Yearbook issue 3. It's actually kind of hard to find, and I don't know if this was ever reprinted, but this was actually, in my opinion, just as good as G.I. Joe 21, and most people don't even know it exists.
I was say, why would Storm Shadow be trying to rescue Snake Eyes? Wouldn't he want to kill him?
Nope, they're part of the same clan. And they're on again, off again allies. They're not enemies per se. It's just Storm Shadow hires out his talent as a mercenary to Cobra. He's not actually a member of Cobra per se.
I know that, but I thought that they were rivals within the clan, and like Storm Shadow was snubbed for honor by Snake Eyes and wanted to kill him as a result.
No, it's Storm Shadow had killed the Hardmaster and that.
Yeah.
It
was more he killed their boss kind of thing. But they're still on again, off again allies, and he's still his brother in a way because they're clan members. So they have kind of a love-hate relationship with each other. So he does team up with Scarlet to get Snake Eyes in this one, and it was actually a very solid issue, and I think it was just as good as the silent issue. So if you get a chance to pick this up, it's worth the like 10 or 15 bucks that it's going for right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just as good as the silent issue, which is going for about the same price last time I looked. So this is a classic, but an underrated classic is G.I. Joe Yearbook. These came out yearly, obviously, but it was sort of their annual, and there were, I think, only 3 of them. But the first 2 were kind of tepid, but this one had another silent story, and it was awesome. And the art's fantastic in both issues. So, yeah, if you get a chance to check these out, I highly recommend them. And I just thought of them because we were talking about G.I. Joe earlier, and I thought I'd pitch these.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, you don't have to convince me, because
I like the old G.I. Joe.
yeah,
comics.
early G.I. Joe is great stuff. It
Yeah.
was,
My brother was a big collector of it. And I know we've got a long box somewhere of all of the Marvel G.I. Joe stuff.
nice.
You should find those and give them to me.
And the lone lady of our group, Eve, what do you got for us?
Okay. Pull this up. I See, Dax, you're worried about being the worst one presenting
I'm
tonight.
still going to be the worst one presenting, but thank you for the vote of confidence.
Remember the goal of a pitch, guests. We're an easy crowd, but you do have to convince us why it's worth reading, what excited you about it, and why we would like it.
Huh?
All you got to do is just tell us why you like it, why we would be interested, get our excitement going. That's all a pitch is about.
Well, okay. I'm gonna try to open this like Quiz does and tell you, this comic that I'm about to pitch
don't do what Quiz does. That's not a good.
Is written by Chris Robertson. Artist is Michael Alfred. Colorist is Laura Alfred. I'm sorry, I may be saying that wrong. Alred. My bad. Letter is Todd Klein. Michael Alred did the cover. And it was created by, it says Robertson and Alred, but it doesn't say which Alred because there's like 3 of them listed there. So anyway, my pitch, if I can share the screen real quick. It's not giving me the thing. Okay, I'll just share the whole damn window.
All right then. Don't dox yourself.
Nah. Just move everything out of the way. My pitch is
iZombie.
iZombie.
Yeah.
It's a very entertaining series. Has almost absolutely nothing to do with a TV show except for the name.
Yeah.
And the fact that the girl is a zombie. And that's about it. Or I'm sorry, the fact that she eats brains, and that's about it. Because technically they're not even the same thing. Because the lore in the TV show is a lot more scientific, and there's medical explanations behind it. This is all mystical. So it's a completely different type of comic. And it's very entertaining because, again, it has nothing to do with the TV show. So the character in this is actually, she's not a mortician, she's a gravedigger. Her best friends, if it will let me scroll through the pages, her best friends here are a were terrier and a ghost.
A were terrier.
They're legit.
Literally a were terrier. Yes, he
is a fucking. He's like he drew the short end of the stick on. He drew the short straw when it came to were creatures, and he got a were terrier. It was just like, he even laments. He's like, man, of all the things, he's like, I don't even get like any of the animal instincts really. I'm just like, I just get neurotic, and I'm already neurotic, so you really can't tell. I'm just like, damn, and I find it amusing that these are their Halloween costumes. He's just himself. The ghost is literally throwing a sheet over her head, and she is Shaun from Shaun of the Dead, and she's the zombie. So I find that infinitely amusing. If I scroll through a few more pages here, yeah, this is what her ghost friend looks like, the blonde down here next to her. She changes dresses a couple of times, but she's limited based on certain knowledge that she had when she was alive. So like she can only go so many places, and she can't leave basically the town.
Yeah, she's limited by the fact that she can only go to the places that she knew when she was alive, and she's tied to the house. So if anything happens to the house, then she's kind of fucked.
Yeah. So it's overall a very interesting comic because Gwen here doesn't remember much about. She'll tell you, yeah, sure, I remember who I was before becoming a zombie, but she really doesn't. When she starts thinking about it hard, it actually becomes difficult for her to remember details and things like that, especially the further time goes on. And she has to eat a human brain at least once a month in order to maintain any sort of semblance of sanity. Otherwise, she'll lose her mind and become a mindless zombie.
Also got the fact that if she doesn't eat flesh, she will rot. And the reason why she looks so good is because, It's keeping her vital.
Mm-hmm. And she.
I love this comic, by the way.
Yeah. She. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. What have you done, Quiz?
You can bring up the fact that they meet a mummy.
Oh yeah. Then there's the mummy. This guy in the background right here. I can zoom in a little bit to show you. This is kind of the most of the list of cast of characters here. This guy right here is actually a mummy.
Mm-hmm.
He's whose house they were knocking on for trick or treat, and Haley kind of looks at them going, "What the hell? Aren't you guys too old for trick or treating?" And they're like, "Just give us the candy and let us go."
Yeah.
He's just like, "I don't have any fucking candy." But it's overall very interesting comic. You got these vampires have moved into town. This chick on the right is one of the vampires. They've started trying to take over. These two guys on the left are hunters, like monster hunters, who've heard about the vampires and have come to town. So everybody is kind of avoiding them, but I don't know. It gets to be this convoluted mess of all these different things going on at once, and it's very entertaining. There's a lot to like about the comic. The characters are interesting. They each have their own developmental arcs and things like that. It's not just all about Gwen. Each of the characters develops in their own way.
Yeah.
And
one thing I really loved about this comic was the fact that the characters all were characters first, and then whatever sort of monster they are is just a sort of a life thing that they have to deal with.
I mean, yeah, it's like they even take it meta themselves. Like I said, their Halloween costumes are just so. She is actually a ghost. He is actually a wereterry, and she is actually a zombie. But they just roll with it like it's a joke,
mm-hmm.
and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a really good book. I definitely.
That's what else I was going to touch on. When she's eating the brains, just like in the TV show, she does get flashes and visions of the person who died, at least with the most recent brain, anyway. I don't know if that continues. But she does at least get one or two of them where it's like, oh, this person was murdered horribly, so I need to find out what happened to them in order to set them to rest, so they'll stop plaguing my thoughts, So it is a little bit like the TV show in that way, but other than that, they're two completely different animals.
I will say this though, just as a warning to people, the omnibus for iZombie is retardedly expensive.
Really?
I mean, granted, it's about like 4 or 5 inches thick.
Which one are you? Because I've got 2 of them. I got the first 2 volumes anyway.
Well, the last time I was in the comic shop and I was going to buy iZombie, the omnibus that has every single issue, like everything,
all of them. Okay, yeah,
was over $100.
Well, it is kind of. It's not exactly a short series either, though.
No, it's huge. So much content to it.
But yeah,
there it is. Nice.
Yeah, so this is one of those like obscure ones that I actually have read, Eve.
Yeah, because I watched the TV show and I'm like, oh, this is a great show. Let me check out the comic. Wow, the comic is nothing like the show, but I still love it. So
yeah, it's absolutely different, but it's different in a good way. I dig them both.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very nice. Guess what, Dax?
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
I want to see what you've got for us.
It's such like a basic bitch move compared to all these other ones.
What, really?
It's fine. Just whatever we want to pitch.
God, you see half the stuff that Quiz pitches? Come on, man.
It's so mainstream.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, especially nowadays with the,
Oh, these guys bust my balls all the time for the mainstream shit I pitch. It's all good.
But it wasn't mainstream when I was watching it. Like the comic I remember the most, and when I guess I'm pseudo pitching here because I'm not very good at this, came from the 2005 time when the House of M was coming out.
Okay.
And I remember really getting into some of the aspects of House of M, not all of it, because House of M had its moments where you're just like, why the fuck? But my favorite little bit, and I suppose I can learn to screen share at some point. Is that green button over there?
It is.
Yes.
And you're already presented, so just go ahead.
Okay, so do that and go over there. Cable and Deadpool.
Cable and
Oh,
Deadpool.
okay.
And I liked specifically the
He's
Enema
not
of the
presented.
State. Do what?
You're not presented.
Am I not? How do you do that?
No, you
It's
are.
fine.
You are.
Holly's
present-
gonna present you.
I'm presenting him.
Because you're still popping up every time you talk. Are you
Oh, he's
clicking
been doing
and
that. It's okay.
presenting?
Well, regardless, I don't have a whole lot of images anyway, so you've seen what you need to see, so I can stop doing that anyway. Save some bandwidth. But yeah, the Enema of the State was really good in my opinion, because you had at this point where they meet up with Mr. Sinister and all this. This is Siren, Cannonball, and Deadpool, and they're trying to get Cable back because they really don't know where he's been. And all these things are just jumping around. Even like they run into the Lord Apocalypse, who's got the alternate Cable as War at this point, and they run up to the Essex people, and they find out that Cable is like now a little baby. And I don't know why that makes me laugh every time I see little baby Cable, because he just looks so smug on the comic book cover, and this is why I remember it so much. Just staring at his tiny little robot baby arm. And I mean, this is some stupid reason to push this, because you guys all have like good reasons, like, oh, I loved this style and I love this. And I'm like, no, I just think baby Cable makes me giggle.
But what about the story would make us want to read it?
If you like Cable and Deadpool, it's such a basic bitch idea. It's like, if you like Deadpool and the idea of him rescuing his best friend who doesn't like being his best friend.
Okay.
I mean,
is there good classic Deadpool comedy in it? You tell me.
Yeah, there's a lot of quips that he goes back and forth with, and he likes to push Siren's buttons, I think, a lot, which I think is funny, because being the relative of the Cassidys from Ireland and whatnot, she inherited the mantle, and I always thought that was cool. But yeah, it's just the idea of rescuing a baby Cable. I don't know, that just it sells it to me. I know that's not a big sell for you guys, or more into the stuff than I am, but I don't know, I like baby Cable. It's so stupid, but that's my only reason for really loving it, is baby Cable.
Whatever does it for you, man. No one's judging you.
I know you guys don't care, but you know.
You don't know that. Don't tell me what I care.
It's sold to me because I do love me some Deadpool, and Deadpool plus Cable equals for hilarity,
Baby
because
Cable,
Cable's the straight man.
That's exactly what it is. That's the selling part right there. It's like he's always the one in charge, or tries to be, and always has the plan, always knows what he's gonna do.
Always
and
very
Deadpool's usually the one who
serious, and
screws it
Deadpool's
up.
just like, nah, let's just do this stupid thing over here. Oh my god! And then Cable's face palming. So
Yeah, and Deadpool ends up having to go rescue him from Cable's arch nemesis. I mean, if anybody knows, which I know you guys do, Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex is the Summers foil. He hates these guys so passionately and wants to control the world through everything that they are. But baby Cable, so good. And I remember one of the lines there that's actually they did bring up when I was looking up images and stuff that's in the database. It's like Deadpool says, "No, wait, do you have any idea how many STDs I could have?" And that always reminded me of this. Like every time I hear "Enema of the State," like the Blink-182 album or whatever, I go back to that, and all I can think of is Deadpool's STDs.
Nice. Okay.
Have you read the Deadpool v Gambit?
No, I didn't get a chance to. I stopped reading a lot pretty much after House of M. I read Civil War, and that's about it.
It's pretty good. I really dug this comic.
Is it a standalone volume thing,
the
or
V is for verses?
It's 6 issues. It's essentially like this. They get they romp across the entire Marvel universe and get into wacky situations. Like there's a bit where Deadpool inherits the fighting style of Iron Fist.
No double pitching quiz.
It's pretty good. But anyway,
can I steal his idea instead? I want to steal his idea. That sounds so much better.
Well, no, when you were talking about straight man, I can't think of a better straight man than Gambit.
On many levels.
I don't know about that.
I sort of can.
Yeah, Gambit. I mean, like Colossus would make a better straight. Gambit's kind of like, Mr.
No, I think I can
Jokey
top all of
romance
them.
dude.
I don't know if I could top Cable necessarily, but Deadpool versus Thanos was pretty fucking good to me.
Well, so that's the thing. I think I'd push Deadpool as a series as a whole. I mean, there's just so much fun there for the straight man to the guy who absolutely loves chaos. It's all there for me. That's why I like the whole dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and for the final pitch from yours truly, everybody knows that I'm a fan of this series, and I looked and I tried to find this 6-issue miniseries within another series as a published collected edition, but I don't think it is, which is sad. But fortunately, it's available in used editions, very cheap at your local comic book shops or
At
online.
your local comic book shops.
Yeah, or online from Comixology or wherever you go to get your stuff online. And it's absolutely worth it because it's one of the standout storylines from the series, written by Ron Mars. I am pitching the Herald Ordeal in Silver Surfer. It's a 6-issue series. Why it's awesome is because Galactus often plays a part in Silver Surfer comics, but never quite like this. Through the entire series, from issue 1, Galactus has his heralds who seek out planets for him to consume, and his herald has been Nova, the fire lady right here, Frankie Ray from Earth, who he gave the power cosmic to. Galactus has had a long-running problem of keeping his heralds around. His first one, of course, was Silver Surfer. So Surfer pitched the idea of, I will be your herald if you will spare my planet of Zenlaw. If you spare this, I will run around and seek out planets for you so you never have to, take a planet like mine. All I ask is that you spare my planet and I will undergo this transformation and become your servant. He ends up leaving the service of Galactus, and Galactus goes through a great number of different heralds over the years until he eventually ends up with Nova. What Surfer has been trying to do the entire time is convince Nova that you can't lead Galactus to planets that have life on them. It's wrong. It's genocide on a planetary scale. And Nova's attitude has always been, who cares? Galactus is so powerful. He's a cosmic entity. He's worth it. And Surfer eventually begins to chip away at her morality and says, don't you remember what it was like to be human? What happens if he took out Earth? How would you feel? And eventually, Nova begins to question Galactus. In this comic, this one right here, it runs numbers 70 through 75. That's the 6-issue series. Galactus fires her. Says, get out of here. I don't want you anymore. And she's like really hurt by this and has no idea what to do with her life. What do you do when you're a cosmically powered entity? That leads.
He doesn't take away her powers.
No, he doesn't. He just says, get out of here, which is interesting. Which leads to the 2nd issue, where Galactus finds his new herald in the form of Morg, the Berserker.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Well, this is Galactus's idea. He comes to a planet where he meets this guy who is the chief executioner for the planet. And what he does is kill all the political dissidents and the criminals. And he's a murder bot, basically. He's an insane man. And this is the idea. I'm going to get somebody that I've never gotten before to be a herald. Somebody who has no moral problems because they have no morals whatsoever. Then I will never run into this problem again of them questioning my decisions and questioning my orders. So he gives the power cosmic to this psycho Morg. Silver Surfer realizes what an incredibly bad idea this is. The rest of the series gets awesome because Silver Surfer goes around and collects the other heralds of Galactus to go hunt down Morg and stop him. So hence the name, the Herald Ordeal. They go and get Firelord in the next issue and all of the things that are involved in that. They find Airwalker, who was destroyed, and reform him, and so on and so forth. And all of the problems that are, so it's not just a matter of getting them. They have to convince them, and in a way that they're going to find acceptable. I won't run through the whole thing, but it comes down to issue number 75, back when they did chromo foil covers. So this is a bad scan of the cover. It kind of looks shitty, but the Silver Surfer logo and Surfer himself are in shiny chromo foil on this one. It is a fantastic story, and Ron Mars wrote the whole thing, and you really get to see him bring his A game to the series. Why he's good at writing these cosmic level stories. Ron Lim, who has influenced I don't know how many people in terms of, he's a really underrated artist in my opinion. He penciled Silver Surfer for holy shit, like 60, 70 issues, which is huge. He even took a break from it to go pencil the original Infinity Gauntlet. That's all his art, and then did Infinity War after that. Hugely influential guy in terms of the way that characters look in the Marvel universe. Thanos basically looks the way that he does because of the way that Ron Lim drew him. That's the kind of unsung influence that man has. I don't want to turn through pages of this comic, like this particular one right here, number 75, the final 6 of 6 series, because it's just full of fucking spoilers left, right, and center, and I don't want to do that in case you guys want to go grab it, which you absolutely should. It has a Infinity War-like ending, like the film Infinity War, in the sense that it's tragic and yet awesome at the same time. You really feel that you've read a deep story. I don't know. I really can't say anything more than that. There's a big tragedy that occurs in it that leaves you like, no, but it ends on a high note, even though this tragedy occurs. It's really, really well written. It's a great.
I thought we weren't supposed to pitch 2 things, Polly.
I pitched 6.
Make it up for my shitty.
Well, the first one was like a series, so we were like, okay.
Well, no, but this is just what do you mean? It's a story arc. I'm pitching a story arc.
Exactly. But then you went off to Thanos, and we were just like, whoa.
Well, what do you mean? Thanos is all up in. It's like, see, here he is back here. He comes up in this series, in this 6-parter. He does. Look, there's his face right there. See. He is. So I'm pitching the story arc, the Herald Ordeal, which runs 70 to 75 in the Silver Surfer. So worth reading. Just a great fun read with a big tragic yet high note ending. So worth your time. So there we are. 5 pitches plus quizzes snuck in 6th. Awesome.
You know, I've come to the conclusion that despite being an all cosmic power, Galactus isn't very bright, is he?
He's not supposed to be. He's just supposed to be there to equalize everything.
He's like a force of nature. He
right, but you figure he'd have at least some basic intelligence. I mean, if a human from Earth can be smarter than him, you got to kind of wonder what. I don't know.
I hear you, and he is kind of stupid on little things, but like Dax says, it's because he's kind of there as a force of nature, and is a force of nature to balance things between eternity and death. And that's sort of what makes him stupid, because all he thinks about is the level that he's operating on. So like the smaller things of like, maybe I shouldn't give powers to this psycho killer, because Silver Surfer's actually,
and then you said he went back and gathered up other heralds. Like, it was like, oh, no, I didn't just give powers to Silver Surfer and Nova and then fire both of them. But then I did all these other people that are going to come up and gang up on my new guy.
What's the thing about Galactus that is like his main character trait is his intense egotism, because he is literally a force of nature. So he references himself in the third person. When he creates a Herald of Galactus, he thinks he's created. He doesn't like when people attack his heralds, even if they fire them, because they're attacking his creation.
Well, think of Galactus as a fat guy in a mobility scooter at a buffet.
Oh, God.
He's hiring little kids to go get him food or point out where the good stuff is, because all he thinks about is his hunger.
Yeah, and it's a big part of it that's important is Morg, not because he's a psycho, is not happy with just the power cosmic. He goes around trying to collect even more power. And it's through appeal to Galactus's ego that Silver Surfer is. I mean, why would Galactus let his other heralds gang up on his new herald? That's part of the story, and it's part of what Silver Surfer has to convince Galactus that this is okay. And why does Galactus eventually turn on Morg and let this happen? That's part of the tragedy of it. It's because something Morg does that Galactus is not willing to accept. I'll leave it at that. Enough.
I mean, it has to be terrible because Galactus eats planets and is just like,
Yeah.
oh, I want a guy who's okay with me murdering thousands of people. So it has to be something pretty epically bad, whatever it is.
See what I mean? Like, and when you see what happens, it's like, oh no, like it's.
Well, it's a little known fact that planets have a chewy nougaty center.
Apparently not that little known because Galactus knows about it. And
yeah, but I mean, he's a big fan of like the caramel Snickers planets more than the Milky
Snickers
Ways.
planets.
Yeah.
Aren't
Yeah,
those
well,
just
all right.
Snickers?
Cannot even with you, Jack.
Now that we've gotten to the nougat center underneath the mantle, that brings us to the end of another Comic Book Curation Live. Yeah, why don't we well, ladies first. Do you have any final thoughts, Eve? You liked being here. You're happy we invited you. You want to come again? Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, all of the above. I did enjoy my time being on here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm glad. We'd be happy to have you back. Dax, you're a guest here. Any final thoughts?
No. I've got one thought, and it's an all-consuming thought, like a fat guy at a buffet with little kids running around and all that good jack that he just said. I want to eat a nougat-filled Earth. It sounds delicious.
Well, there's your $1 million idea. It's a candy that's a Galactus candy. It's a little planet-shaped chocolate ball with a nougat center.
I could sell it to Galactus for dosh.
No, you could sell it to people and make money.
No, but to Galactus.
No, you want to sell them Jupiter because it's like the Three Musketeers. It looks like a candy bar, but it's mostly air.
Quiz, final thoughts.
Support local conventions and resale shops. It's where you can find a lot of good old comics. You can find stuff that might have slipped your radar. You don't have to support the big two if you buy old.
I have another thought.
Yeah.
Or buy independent.
Get Blue Mamba comics.
Yeah, get Blue. Good
Yeah.
call. There is a nice final thought. Well done, Dax. You know, you actually should go check out the link which I've added to the description. I believe that I press save changes.
It's there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, the link's in the description, as well as the Twitter handles of all of us and our two guests tonight, Dax and Eve. Jack, final thoughts.
Yeah, I don't really have any. Good job, everybody. Go team. Subscribe to our channels.
Squad goals.
Been a long day.
All right, fair enough.
I want to give the One-Ton Hammer a big thanks for helping me out with my computer.
Oh, really? Oh, God, Hammer's like the most generous guy in the world when it comes to his time with computers. God, that's great. Yeah. So, final thoughts for me. Thank you for everybody coming and listening. Support your local comic book shops by, like Quiz says, going to conventions, and you can find great used editions, including Silver Surfer Volume 3, numbers 70 through 75, as pitched this week. Something that I often forget to mention, I always say like and subscribe to everybody, and I certainly hope you do if you're interested. But I also always forget to say to those who listen in the future, please feel free to leave comments below. What you like, what you didn't like, what you enjoyed. I love reading them, and I get to respond to most of them. And that is awesome. I love hearing comments after the fact pop up in my notifications. I'm always like, oh, sweet. Somebody watched and decided to comment. So feel free to let me know.
You know, you're going to get a bunch of like Hollow Earthers complaining about my nougaty center.
I hope so. That would be awesome.
Checkmate, atheists.
Right. On a final note, we do have the upcoming 300 subscriber special. So my last thought is thank you to everybody who subscribed. It's greatly appreciated. We love that you guys want to come by and listen to us nerd the hell out for a little while and talk about the comics that we enjoy and all of the fun stuff that surrounds them. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Take care.